This is and I'll bring the fire. Gonna light it higher. No filter, no fear, I say it raw. Strike the match, let it burn through the fire. And I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. Everybody's selling truth like a brand, buying opinions they don't understand, talking in circles, screaming online, keyboard courage, borrowed spines. Yeah, power plays dressed up as peace, same old wolves with different teeth, but silence is loud when the house is burning, and the fuse is short, yeah, it's still learning. I don't dance for the left or the right, I stand in the heat, I stand in the fight. No strings, no chains, no manufactured choir, just gasoline thoughts and an open lighter. This is and I'll bring the fire. Gonna light it higher. No filter, no fear, I say it raw. Strike the match, let it burn through the fog. This is and I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. World's on tilt, pressure climbing. Truth don't whisper, it's perfect timing. You can't cancel the smoke, you can't stop flame. Say my name when it hits. Say my name. Why? Say my name. Say my name. Fire don't ask permission. Fire don't need a side. Fire just shows up honest and exposes the lie. This is and I'll bring the fire. Truth hits harder. Burn it down till what's real survives. No smoke, no mirrors, just heat and lies. And I'll bring the fire. And I'll bring the fire. American fire. Strike it. Let it speak.
Hey everybody, happy Thursday. Welcome to American Fire. I'm Ace. I'll be taking you through it for the next couple hours. Hang out with me. Let's have a good time. Become part of the greatest community online, especially on YouTube. Yep, not hyperbolic. I'm telling the truth. What's going on, folks? You guys ready? We got a lot to talk about today. We have Trump cleaning up the election machines in the latest order coming down from DHS. Random audits. This has Democrats, of course, panicking, as they do a lot of these days. We have the massive uncovering of the Afghanistan cover-up. Yeah, when Joe Biden pulled us out of Afghanistan, left $80 billion of equipment behind, and also let 13 American soldiers die in one of the greatest mistakes, boondoggles ever in American history. Yeah, that's being uncovered. Classified documents come out from Sean Parnell, so we'll be covering that as well. Trump also yesterday executed an executive order emergency declaration over our power grid. Very interesting to see what's going on there. And of course, in today's Grifter Report, we got a big one as Greg Bovino joins Tucker Carlson and has to just talk smack on Trump's deportation efforts, throwing out all kinds of lies, misinformation, whatever you want to call it. We're going to break all that down today with lots of laughs, lots of fun, and of course, optimism, because we are winning. Having said that, please hit that like and subscribe. Let's get into it, folks. Let me do some shout outs in the crowd, see who's joined me today. I'm not getting anybody on Rumble today. That's interesting. It must be a bad connection. The Rums folks, I apologize. I don't know why, but it's not showing anything coming through. So we'll go straight to the tubes today. Welcome YouTube. We got Jim Atkins, Sebastian Chose, Golden Code, Nick Majors, Janice Bain, the one, what to do, friend? Swamp Fuel, Gray Fog, Cass Sink, Jay Tyrus, Bobby Girl, Toe Cramp, Word, Real H Girl. You got your shout out, friend. Welcome early. Jay Tyrus, Threads, Max Callantine, Saved by Grace, Cass Inc., Cooley Scorner, Saved by Grace, Dad Bod Todd, Threads, Huckleberry Squid, Taya Die, and let's do a few more. Kevin Tweedy, K Shuey, Come Take 'em, Lindsay B, Monica Poole, Pragmar from Wisconsin. You know, that's where I was born. Black Shepherd, Tammy Anderson, and J-Dog and Deuterino, and many, many more. Sorry, guys, can't get to all of you. There's too many today, but welcome. Glad you're here. Thank you for joining. Please hit me up in the chat. Tag me so I can see it. Questions, comments, disagreements, if you're respectful, all are welcome here. Make the show better, make the community stronger. Bots, trolls are gonna be kicked. Always throwing that out there just to give you a heads up. We got the mods on the job. It's mod mania. They like to cut heads off. So don't mess with them. Do not mess with them. They'll take you out quick. Other than that, folks, if you want, as the show's going on, if you're liking what you're hearing, you can decide to support the show, as I'm viewer and listener supported. Support the show. Super chats always will be read or answered. And, of course, there's the membership where you get access to the Discord chat as well as members' lives, which we just did one on Sunday. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Raffle with a $2 super chat, leading by example here, says Pratt has a Substack on Mark Kelly as a 28 Dem. Pratt. I'm trying to think Pratt. Spencer Pratt? Mark Kelly. I could see Mark Kelly running, but I highly doubt it. He wouldn't get through the primaries. He's not extreme enough. You know, though, funny story about Mark Kelly. He's been a long time favorite of Barack Obama's. In fact, Obama wanted to put Mark Kelly in instead of Kamala Harris. The Clintons are the ones who jumped to the forefront as Kamala was fighting for the nomination as Joe was stepping down. She jumped to the forefront, was fighting for it, and the Clintons came along and said, hey, great idea. Why don't you go be our nominee for president? Barack Obama was in the background saying, no, let's do a primary. We could do a quick primary real quick. And my boy here, Mark Kelly, would be a great nominee. And they pushed Obama out. That's why Obama was one of the last to endorse her. Yeah, funny story. This Democrat civil war, folks, has been going on much longer than most know. There has been a power struggle in the Democratic Party between the Obama and the Clinton camp since 2008. And now you enter the DSA as well. The Democrats are a mess behind the scenes, just so you guys know. Mark Kelly, though, is awful. We're no longer talking about the 49ers owner. Thank you very much for your attention to this matter. We've taken care of that issue. Rumble's having tech issues. Big surprise there. Listen, I love Rumble. I love that they stand for free speech. But Rumble has serious issues with their algo and other things. I would love Rumble to be my number one place, but it just can't be. YouTube is just many light years ahead of it. So you got to put up with the crap if you want to get seen. Is DJT going to squeeze? You know, I'm retired from covering stocks, guys. I'm sorry. I've retired. There's way too much going on politically. There's way too many things to report. I'm much better at covering this stuff politically. The stock stuff I did in my early days, that was me jumping into an arena where I was just not fully qualified. Although, what is a qualification? I did my best. I learned what I could. I learned a lot. I was honest, but I also realized that, you know, there's just too much here. I can't do this and also cover what I really know. So gotta stick with what I know and where I'm best, where I'm most useful. All right. And that's going to be here in the politics, pop culture areas, and, you know, sometimes theology. Yes, I am drinking 7-Eleven coffee today. Don't judge me. I should cover DJT. It's political. I just don't, you know, from the stock angle, it's not going to do much. There's plenty of other people doing a good job. I like the idea of Rumble performs like a lemon clunker. It does. The only people who do well on Rumble are the people who had big followings on YouTube and got censored, so their whole audience followed them to Rumble. So they got that was their organic growth. The other people who do well on Rumble are the people that Rumble has signed, made contracts with in order to promote Rumble and really blow Rumble up. This was a big push they made 2 years ago. That included Tim Pool, the Quartering, Steven Crowder, all these guys, and nothing to it. I mean, good for them. They all got, Viva Frey was one. They all got contracts with Rumble to be promoted to make Rumble a destination place for basically courting MAGA listeners. And it worked. Tim Pool gets huge numbers over there. Crowder gets huge numbers. Quartering gets huge numbers. They're all doing very well on Rumble. They're pretty much the only ones. There's not many channels that do well on Rumble, but I'll still stream there, so I can always, have a backup in case YouTube goes down. I love the vision of Rumble. I love the idea that they are not ever going to look into censoring stuff like that. So, but yeah, I'm just not gonna be. I can't push. I can't focus on Rumble. Let me put it that way. How do I go the whole time without going to the potty, says Dune Reno? How do you know I don't? Maybe I'm pulling a Cartman and I just got a bucket right underneath me right now the whole time. So I can sit here for 8 hours straight. What a terrible question. How dare you? All right. Anything else before we get into it? We got plenty to get into today, folks, but I also love hanging out with the community first. So don't worry. The news is coming, but let me talk to you guys. Juju B with a gifted membership. Thank you, Juju B. I went to J Bone. Welcome to the membership. You now can get into the members only content by clicking on the community tab, seeing the members only posts. And also you should, if you connect to Discord, if you have the Discord app and connect your YouTube channel, it should automatically connect you to the Discord chat. Gamers, no, this is terrible. I do not. You guys, whenever I pull up a long video clip, and it needs like a video clip, it's running for 3 to 4 minutes. Well, that's when I take my time to, cover up. I'm just kidding. That's disgusting. I don't do that at all. In and out keys, we'd probably hear your beep hit the bucket over your toes. Oh my God. Where did we go? Where are we going in this? This is going out of control. Free Neds with a $5 super chat. Says invest as much you can, diversify stocks, crypto, gold, silver, copper, energy. I'm in finance, so much opportunity right now. There is. The Trump economy is really building for especially commodities. So there's a big future in a lot of areas. The question is, will there be a dip first? I don't know. I can't tell you. I know several people who believe it, but I also know that I've been blown away by how the Trump team just keeps that stock market going up. It's pretty incredible to see. Doom Guy with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Doom Guy. Appreciate that. Appreciate the support. Imagination. We independents and Republicans are majority good persons, but not nice and have common sense. We independents and Republicans are the majority. Oh, yeah, definitely. The thing is, independents in general vote left. You know that? It's because the Democratic brand is now so bad, but I don't know. A lot of time, I considered myself independent for a while before Trump really reformed the Republican Party. I'm not ashamed to say I'm Republican anymore now that it's controlled by MAGA. But when you're independent, you gotta. At this point, the Democratic Party's so bad. It's just like, why even pretend you're going to vote for him? Just register as a Republican and then get in all the primaries. It's like there honestly is no other choice right now. Ride the wave, says Freenaz. Ride the wave. Rafi says, wait until after the midterms. That's probably smart. There's going to be, I would guess there's going to be a lot of volatility between now and the end of the midterms. Tanjan says, I'm the only independent that went right because I'm starting to lean towards being a Republican. Like I said, at this point, the benefit of being an independent before was that both sides were bad, and you might occasionally, and this is very occasionally, find like a conservative Democrat that was worth voting for. But nowadays, it's like because saying you're an independent means you can be swayed either way, right? But now there is no other option. I'm just like, the Democrats are so crazy. In the future, once we've completely destroyed them, there will be choices again, because there's going to be arguments within the MAGA movement, within the new America we're building. But for now, no, there is no option. You vote Republican, or you're retarded. That's or you're evil. That's all there is right now. You don't have a chance. There's no other option. Why are we allowing Mark Carney to come do talks in America to Michigan? Because Michigan's blue. You can't stop like the Trump administration is not going to stop a world leader unless they're like terrorist. I'm registered independent means I'm further right than 95% Republicans. Yeah. Well, I understand that. But when it comes to voting, depending on which state you're in, it'll keep you out of the primaries. We're never going back to the Bush era. Yeah, never ever. Okay. Well, folks, believe it or not, we do have news to get to. The enforcer is out of Alabama. The enforcer, I don't know what that is. Dems were always scumbags. Internet just shed a light on broke net. Well, recently, yes. But Beatrice says both parties are captured. MAGA is the only American party. I mean, it's true, but see, the Republican Party is becoming MAGA. We just proved it again whenever Trump endorses and beats the establishment, we get a little more a little more MAGA. The Republican Party loses a little bit more of its old establishment ways, its establishment power. And right now, the Republican Party is like 75% controlled by MAGA. And some of the most entrenched people are still there in the establishment, but the establishment just has no more power with the voters. So they still have money, they still have some entrenchment, they still have some institutional power, but they don't have any voter power at all anymore. The voters are so wide awake to the establishment on the Republican side that we just keep wiping them up every chance we get. And because of that, it's only a matter of time before the Republican Party is pretty much full MAGA as far as it can be. You got banned from a chat once for calling Bush a Republican? What? He was like the definition of the old school Republican. Tracy Angel says Kim Clement prophesied a new party will emerge from the two parties, which both are corrupt. Yes, but also you got to understand how prophecy works. Prophecy doesn't always mean God gives you like the specifics on stuff. The new party could actually be the Republican Party being renewed. It could be the Republican Party changing to MAGA. So that is one way that prophecy could be fulfilled. AZ Philly fan, welcome to the membership. Thank you very much. Well, okay. Yeah, we have to go through the Republican Party. Think about this. Why did Trump go through the Republican Party? He didn't go third party because third party is where, you go to lose. You go to be defeated. It's a false hope every single time. Okay? So when you go the false hope way, you just waste your time, money, and energy. But if you go, so he saw Trump very smartly, and whoever was working with him, saw the Democrats were beyond corrupt, and you can never win a primary on the Democrat side because they controlled it with their superdelegates. But the Republican side, he knew the people on the Republican side still had traditional values, still believed in like a real working economy, didn't believe in socialism. So he knew, like, if I go the Republican route, there's hope, there's a way through. And it was brilliant because now he's completely reshaped the Republican Party. There is no going back. It's only growing. It's only growing. The voters on the Republican side were still pretty based, but we were just in this spiral of we only got the options presented to us always sucked. But it was still better than the Democrats. So we showed up to vote so that they couldn't ruin our country. And basically we were just on the Republican side of things, we were voting for the slow decay of our country, whereas the Democrats were voting for the quick decay of our country. And by doing it, the Democrat, but then Trump came along and finally gave us a real option, and the rest is history. Ton Judd said, can we please say the rhinos are indeed Democrats, take on the title Republican? I mean, I won't go that far. What I'll say is they're still in the globalist system. But Democrats are just too outward. It's still different than Republican, than a rhino. A rhino will still give you 60 to 80% of what you want most of the time. Wealthiest man in the world thought about a third party, then said, nope, that's not feasible. Elon woke up from that real fast, huh? Imagination says, we independents and have no Democrats and libs Man, I'm so sorry. I cannot read your chat. Sorry there. User says, whatever the offer Trump Republicans would have offered to Carney, he was going to say no and escalate in order to help Democrats. Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, fascinating stuff, huh, guys? But we are in a time of change. We are winning. The Democrats are in big trouble. The globalists are in big trouble because not only are we winning left and right these days, we are also we're shoring up our elections in a big way. And I will talk about that in a second. I do want to add this before we go, before we really get started here. Watched a fascinating interview yesterday, and there is still so much psyoping going on in the MAGA side of things. And it's to create fear, to create doubt, it's insane. I don't want to call out exactly what I watched because I like this person and I really like their podcast, but they had a guest on that was just so insane. And I was like, I cannot believe they are like taking this person's thoughts seriously. But I'll just let you know, there's still a major part of people who are still so skeptical and looking past all the wins and just have decided that no matter what, we're always going to have evil, corrupt leaders, government. And it's really, really sad. It's really, really sad because those people are not going to get to see and enjoy as much what's happening when we start getting the fruits of our labor and the fruits of all this fight that we're in right now. Because when those fruits start coming, they're going to still be skeptical. And even though they might have had the right heart, the right initiative, they're just going to miss out on so much. There are literal times in history where you do get a good leader. There are times in history where things are actually going in the right direction. It's happened time and time again. It's happening right now. And it's just so sad to me that some people just refuse to step out of their wounds, step out of the pain and the disappointment of the past and still see everything through that. It's really, really sad. AZ Philly fan with a $50 super chat. Thank you, friend. Says, go Birds, keep doing you. I personally have unsubscribed to Black Pillars until we find out who pays them. Morrison, you're my go-to guys on YouTube. AZ, that means the world to me. I don't, I'm always very humbled when people say that like I've become their favorite show, I'm their must watch, all that. It's hugely humbling because the competition is stiff. It's very stiff out there. And so when people say that they've chosen me, that means the world. So thank you, AZ, and really thank you for the super chat, the support. I can't do it without you guys. So I do thank you, everybody who gives me those nice compliments and lets me know like I'm doing a good job in your estimation, but also like I can also do this because of the support. And so thank you guys, and it means the world to me. It really does. Bush Jr. and Mike's can't. Oh my God. Lena says, walking through looks that way, doesn't it? Look how the European Union is acting because it's losing their grip. So it's MAGA against the globalists. MAGA has become something bigger. So we started as Make America Great Again, America First, and we still are that. That is our primary function, primary belief system. But those who really know what Trump's doing also understand that America First also means sovereigntist. We are the fight of the sovereigntists against the globalists. And that's why MAGA is getting bigger and bigger all the time. Anything else before we go on? We doing Jed York talk? Nope. There are moderate Democrats voters. There are no moderate Democrats in leadership, except for like Fetterman. But even he's really liberal. He just doesn't look crazy because of commies. Okay. All right, guys, let's get into it. Please hit the like, subscribe, and blow up the chat if you want, as long as you're not trolling. But let's get into it, okay? Let's get into it because we have a lot to get to, and actually really, really good news. Really good news. Man, just when I get out, you guys suck me back in. Fran says, choosing doom and gloom encourages the left. Charlie Kirk said he got so many doom and gloom emails and they didn't help win. Exactly. Okay. So, last thing before I move forward. Sorry, guys. I keep postponing. I always say I'm positive because my faith, right? And that's a big part of it. The other reason I'm positive is because the great leaders on our side have always been positive. Okay. And that includes in recent history. I'm at think of some of the greatest conservative leaders in our modern history who have been pushing and actually creating results. That is Rush Limbaugh, who might have been the greatest conservative thinker of all time, at least on the public airwaves. So at least with a microphone, just as a pure thinker. Rush had his faults, but being a thinker was not one of them. So Rush Limbaugh, and then we see Charlie Kirk, who obviously died way too young, but in his short time in politics, in the sphere, changed so many hearts and minds and won over so many voters, woke up so many people. And then Trump. And what do those three all have in common? Not only are they great Americans, great patriots, great conservative thinkers, and by conservative, I mean traditional values, patriotic, American system, but they also are optimistic all the time, always hopeful, always believing about how we're moving forward, always seeing opportunity in every issue, always seeing a silver lining. That's how we win. And without those three men, and obviously there's many others, but without those three guys, we want to be where we're at. We would be done. We would be Europe. So that's where we're at. Mr. Wizard with a $2 super chat says, Ace Chu, I choose you. Are you Asian now? That sounds like Shogun, something he'd say. Shogun, I know you're watching. I love being offensive with Shogun because he thinks it's funny. Betty, thank you so much. I get a lot of people who think I am too sensitive on my disagreements. And to those people, I want to tell them, guys, this is a show, okay? I like to make big deals out of small things sometimes in the chat because it's more fun that way. It's more fun that way. Do I actually care that somebody online that I don't know disagrees with me? No, I don't care at all. But I like to take arguments and I like to dissect them and I like to make forceful points because you know what? If I didn't, You guys wouldn't want to watch. If I was just like, and today, Mark Wayne Mullen is setting out to DHS, and they have new rules in place. By the way, I do see somebody in the chat says that they do not agree that we are having deportations at massive levels. They are actually very disheartened by what Trump is doing. They think Israel is controlling Trump. And to that person, I would just like to say that I don't understand where you're coming from, but I hear you. I hear you, and that is a true concern. Who wants to listen to that? Nobody wants to listen to that. That's not entertaining. That's boring. I'm not NPR. I'm a guy with opinions, and I like to, I like to have fun with them. And so part of the fun is getting into fights with people in the chat. just being honest. Just being honest. Okay. All right. We do got to get going though. Okay. We got to get going. Woo. Alrighty. Okay, guys, leave your chats, tag me, super chat me, whatever, so I can find it and read it afterwards. But let's do it. Let's get through a segment here. I love this community. It also gets me in trouble because I've there's the people who are like, just get to the news. Come on, dude. I'm like, come on. We got the clips for that, right? All right. So this morning we got the news that DHS is going to be randomly auditing paper ballots. This is great news. More pressure on the Democratic states, the cheaters, the Rhino Republicans who will cheat. More pressure on anybody fixing our elections, which is a beautiful thing. And the scary part to them is these are going to be random. You never know when they're going to show up. This will keep them on their heels. But it says DHS forcing random paper ballot audits because America's biggest voting machine companies use Chinese-made parts. Another huge win for election integrity. Only way they win is if they cheat. Let's look at a little more of this here. Catherine Herridge breaks it down. DHS warning, Chinese parts in election machines requires paper ballot audits. Here's a letter from Secretary Mullen who, well, we'll get into that in another segment because Tucker Carlson had Greg Bovino on yesterday and all they did was tear apart Mullen. All they did was tear apart the current DHS leadership. They wonder why. I think they're a little scared. There's been multiple attacks on Mullen, but anyways, he put this out. Voting machines with components manufactured by foreign adversaries introduce significant security risks. Need a strong mitigation strategy, particularly considering the known weakness in the election infrastructure supply chain. To receive full DHS grants, states must conduct post-election manual counts of paper ballots, in addition to other election infrastructure measures, trying to get it to the paper ballots. Much harder to cheat with those. Intel assessments, China remains the most active and persistent cyber threat to U.S. government, private sector, and critical infrastructure networks. From the NIC memo, October 24th. By the way, they put that out right before the November election by the Biden administration. Do you think they were going to try to use that against Trump? Yeah. If that election had been close, the Intel networks would have thrown all of this out there, and they would have used it to say Trump rigged the election, or the election was rigged for Trump. You better believe it. We assess some U.S. adversaries at a minimum. China, Iran, and Russia have the technical capability to access some U.S. election-related networks and systems. Admin official, no intel China successfully manipulated American vote count, but we're going to audit anyways. This gives them the excuse. See, interesting, they say there's no evidence it's been changed, especially regarding October 24th, but that they're still calling it out and using as an excuse to audit. So even without the excuse, they set them up to be able to go after this. This has them freaking out, along with the Supreme Court ruling, along with sending out all the election watchers, et cetera, et cetera. This is panic time for the Democrats coming up to the election. All their chances, all their hopes of stealing the midterms are fluttering away. It's a beautiful thing to watch. Now, Joe Lang has this great breakdown I wanted to share with you guys. Timing is everything. Remember what happened yesterday. AG Blanche announced they had seized the servers and domains of a major Chinese hacker group, infecting major infrastructure involving national security. Then today, DHS announced DHS will require random audits of paper ballots in midterm elections, citing long simmering concern nation's largest voting technology companies use Chinese parts. We already covered all this. So Chinese components in voting machines can be exploited by Chinese hackers. Do you see the table being set? Evidence being declassified and laid out before American people, proving our entire election system is already compromised. National security issue. Trump's already making the case to the American people. Exactly. This is why you do it ahead of time. You get the people ready in case you need to drop a emergency order on the elections. Leading right up to the moment where they prove 2020 election was stolen, Trump declares national emergency. Declaration will require all the safeguards for our elections that Trump's been talking about since first term. Groundwork's being laid, people prepared for what's coming. Everything will change. Stolen election will lead the prosecution phase. Those responsible are held accountable. So is it possible they let the midterms happen and then blow it up, proving that they were stolen? Or the possibility midterms don't happen as scheduled. There's also a possibility military helps oversee the election in order to make sure all the new safeguards are implemented. Case against fraudulent election systems building on daily basis, which is true. We see this over and over and over again. Overwhelming evidence will get the backing of Supreme Court majority when Trump declares national emergency. We've already seen, even though, yes, the Supreme Court did disappoint us in some areas, but we've also seen the Supreme Court on some of these really obvious ones come over to the Trump side, which they just did with the executive order. President has plenary authority over national security. He'll use the constitutional authority to take control of the election system, protect constitutional right of American citizens to vote. We will not certify another unconstitutional election. This is something I definitely agree with. I don't think Trump will allow stolen, fraudulent people to get through in this midterms. I don't. So we'll see, but they are laying the foundation. I mean, Trump did a speech to the people, a presidential address, which are very rare. I know a lot of people are like, that wasn't nothing. It was, especially to the people who hadn't really heard much on this stuff before. It was. You make a big deal out of it over and over again and drip, drip, drip. Now, the Postal Service final rule was published today. And here is some of the details. With the Supreme Court removing prior injunctions, green light is on. All machinery, data portals, and verification checks are fully primed for 26 execution. Here's a breakdown what every state must do to use USPS for mail-in ballot delivery. Mandatory pre-approval on envelope design. States can no longer use custom unverified mail piece formats. That's very interesting. Each state does not get to control what they're sending out. That's even with the envelopes. All outbound and return ballot envelopes must be pre-submitted to USPS mail piece design analyst for strict layout, sizing, and intelligent mail barcode compliance. No approval equals no delivery. This is what they are so upset about. Federal ballot mail portal and participation list. States are required to upload mail piece level voter data directly into federal ballot mail portal before or at the time of mailing. This builds administrative reconcilable mail-in and absentee participation list, matching exterior barcode scans to state certified voter dispatches. Very interesting. Tracking them all. Hard gatekeeping at entry. It's not optional. Postal facilities will scan outbound ballot mailings against portal entries. If a state fails to complete the required data entries or fails design compliance, Postal Service will refuse to accept the ballots. Oh, can't mail them in. Can't send them to the government because you didn't make the compliance. Wow. Can't send them out. This is great news. This is why they're freaking out, folks. The autonomy is maintained. States retain 100% control over their voter registration rolls and eligibility. Postal workers do not inspect ballot contents or open sealed mails. Rule strictly governs exterior mail piece compliance, barcode verification, secure data reporting to ensure chain of custody transparency. So we can't force them to submit their voter rolls, at least until the Supreme Court orders that the government has full jurisdiction over that. But what we can do is make sure they're not going to the wrong people, make sure every ballot that goes out is tracked so you can figure it all out, find out who's got what. This is basically a workaround of not having the voter registration rolls up to date. Timeline trigger. With August 21st effective date now active, legal holds cleared, states must sync their mail preparation routines ahead of September ballot dispatches. This is why they're in such a hurry, because it's almost time to send them out. September is almost here. This is very quickly becoming a major issue for them. Portal activation. Operational integration goes live alongside published system of records. Every state choosing to leverage federal mail infrastructure for a 26 election must adhere to these benchmarks. Every state choosing to leverage federal mail infrastructure. In other words, if you guys want to steal the election through mail-in ballots this time and send out everything you want, you're going to have to use UPS or FedEx. Oh, you don't have the budget for that? Oh, so sad. Too bad, so sad. This what USPS is the federal mail infrastructure. Oh, they're so mad about this. One more step in the right direction. Unite for Freedom will continue its efforts until every potential failure is resolved. Valid, transparent, auditable elections are the goal, nothing less. Absolutely. And this is a big track to that. Now, I like this post by Observing Consciousness because he really puts it together well. It says they won't steal this election. The new Congress will carry the will of the American people into Washington, and everything Trump's built over the last decade can finally be codified into law. Now, this is the hope. This is a big hope. Is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? At the moment, no. But we can get there. The likelihood is growing every day. Election integrity, voter ID, proof of citizenship, paper ballots, manual ballots, clean voter rolls, tracked absentee ballots, and real chain of custody from issuance through certification. Here's the deal. You guys know the SAVE Act, how it hasn't gone through yet, which is very, very disappointing. Well, the truth is they don't want it in place for the midterms. And this is why Trump is rushing out every single option he has as president without Congress to secure these elections, because they're not going to give us a SAVE Act. But the pressure on them after the midterms, we're going to get the SAVE Act. I really believe that. I believe that either a Congress that knows the House is going Democrat will say if they win the House, they will find a way to get the SAVE Act into place so that the Democrats cannot win 28 and they can come back. Or we win overwhelmingly, and the pressure from that is a wake-up call that the SAVE Act's going to get passed anyway, so might as well do it on our watch so we can tout it as a win. Both scenarios track with me from what I know of politics and several years of following this stuff, so it's great stuff can happen from this, and I do believe it'll pass after the midterms. Same mandate reaches far beyond elections. Border architecture becomes permanent. Tariffs in American manufacturing becomes national doctrine. Energy dominance locked in. Pharmaceutical reform accelerates. Federal machinery used to censor Americans, protect insiders, and funnel foreign influence into American policy begins losing its funding authority and legal cover. Trump spent 10 years exposing where power was buried inside agencies, contractors, intelligence cutouts, universities, NGOs, media operations, foreign supply chains, and financial networks shape policy without ever answering to the people. A sovereign Congress can now cut those pipelines, rewrite laws, protect them, make the restoration nearly impossible to reverse. That's why election security is merging with national security exactly this moment. Chinese state-sponsored hacking infrastructure is seized. DHS exposes the components inside voting machines, and election pipelines hardened through paper audits. Citizenship verification, USPS tracking. Tables being set. I completely support this message. So let me go back to that real quick. Fun little AI graphic he made from this, but it's true. It makes a lot of sense too if you think about it. We overwhelmed the system in 24, got Trump in, got the House and Senate as well. Overwhelmed them. They were in charge. They had it. They couldn't beat it. We had so much awakening at that time. They spent the last 2 years hammering Trump, psyoping us, deploying all assets, including the influencers, who more and more, it makes sense they all went pro-Trump in 24. Because if you think about it, if they are part of that system, the globalist networks were hedging their bets. They knew Joe Biden was a problem. They knew Kamala Harris was a disaster. But they thought maybe there's a chance we still pull this one out. But in case we don't, we need to have people planted on that side to divide them, destroy them from the inside, and then we get it back later. That's what they wanted. That's what they were hoping for. So they deployed all assets as soon as Trump went to Iran. Tucker, Megan, all these people, Alex Jones, they all flipped. Now they don't have a place. They can't come back. They've done everything they can to divide us heading into this midterms. Why? Because with Trump in power, their one hope to stop him is to turn the people against him, his own base against him, use everything they could. It was a Hail Mary play, but they were set for it. The midterms they needed, but they can't just win the House. They need the Senate as well, and that is a major problem for them. This midterm is truly their last shot. Because in 2028, you'll have had 2 more years of Trump in power, 2 more years if they lose this midterms of things being progressed. And then you get 28 presidential election, more people are involved. Trump's economy's had more time to grow. They are treating this like a presidential election, which is why we need to as well. But again, they're in Hail Mary mode. They can't win without a giant Hail Mary pass. And that is becoming harder and harder for them as in football terms. Right now, they have less players on offense than we do on defense to block the Hail Mary because it keeps getting worse on the Democratic side. Here's John Fetterman calling out Abdul Sayed and Hassan Piker, and we're at the point now where he's mocking it. This is a Democrat, one of the most popular Democrats, one of the most well-known Democrats. This bromance is a buddy movie about defending Hamas plus a parade of deeply anti-Semitic rhetoric. 2 big thumbs up, quote, Iran. There's no way this guy's a Democrat after the midterms. Just telling you right now. He's either going to be a Republican or an independent that caucuses with the Republicans. Another reason why they have a huge uphill battle. But this is how bad it's getting on their side. Even Bloomberg is now being forced to report how crazy things are getting on the left with the DSA and this massive anti-Semitic Iran or pro-Hamas, pro-Palestine, anti-Israel push going on in the Democratic Party. Bloomberg, Democrats are now conceding the party's anti-Semitism problem is veering into dangerous political territory. It could eventually cost Democrats Jewish support at the ballot box. Yeah, they rely on the Jews. 78% of Jewish Americans vote Democrat. You guys think Republicans get a lot of Jewish money? Oh, that's funny. Most Jews in America are power brokers that vote Democrat. Media people, Hollywood, big tech, the ones that are still lefty, and of course, Wall Street. They get a lot of money. Everybody, one of the reasons there's this whole psyop that Israel controls Trump is because the truth is Israel has a deeper hold on the Democratic Party. Not the Israel you guys are thinking of, but the deep state of Israel. The faction within Israel that is still attached to the globalists. That faction actually has way more sway over the Democratic Party than the Republicans, which is why they keep pushing the psyop that Israel controls Trump. If they lose the Jewish support, it's not quite as bad as losing black support because there's less Jews than there are blacks, but it's very bad for them. And then, of course, they have to, at the end, say nothing of the moral implications because to them, that's a footnote, the moral implications. What really matters is this. They're scared of the voting. Oh, and not to mention their best candidates for president 2028, the 2 people that actually could maybe dupe Americans into voting Democrat, John Ossoff, Josh Shapiro, they're both Jewish. Good luck getting them through the primaries with this base you've created. They know the problem is happening, and they're trying to make Hassan Piker the scapegoat. The problem is that there's way too many on the left in the base who love this guy. So it's the civil war continues. Now, I've told you guys for a while, one of the reasons the polls are even where they are, which the polls are fake, but the reason they're even able to rig them the way they are is because the Republicans have yet to spend money. They have yet to get the money out there to paint their opponents, show the world who they are. That hasn't happened yet. We just got one of the first ads. See, now the money's being spent. Here's one of the first ads going after Tallarico in Texas. And I got to say, if this is the kind of ads that are going to come out, folks, this guy's going to lose overwhelmingly.
The Democrats have a weird candidate.
God is non-binary. There are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption. The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us. Prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness, my own masculinity. Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front. Yeah. No need to sit and cry over, your whiteness or your masculinity. They're going to call me a radical leftist.
Something that you love that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children.
The Democrats have a weird candidate.
Low T Tallarico.
So good. Low T Tallarico. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Do you guys remember when Jesus talks about whiteness? Because I sure don't. I've only studied the Bible for 30 years. I don't remember that part, but okay, buddy. Okay. I'm pretty sure most Texans don't remember that either. But this is how we're going to win. Because now we're going to show the world who they are. It's no longer going to be just channels like me actually covering this stuff. These are the ads that are going to start going on your YouTube videos, on your Netflix if you don't pay for the free ad version, etc., etc. It's going to be out in front of everybody. Oh yeah, football's about to start. Football. Lots of ads at football and everybody's watching. This is how we win. See, we've let them have the narrative for, 6 months where they were controlling the narrative without a push behind our money going into the system, throwing these ads out. Now it's started and they couldn't put them away. They couldn't get ahead of Trump during that time in a way that was running away. That is big problem for them. And so we're at the point where, even the influencers are starting to get in on it. They know it's time. It's go time. Midterms are just over 2 months away. It's time to try to throw some crap out there, make it about us. And here's Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about being on the GOP convention schedule.
You guys are not going to believe this. This literally made me laugh today. So let me tell you what I just found out. I found out that my name is on the website for the big GOP convention being planned in Dallas, Texas, coming up for the midterms here. And so, yeah, my name's on the speakers list. And I found that absolutely.
That's not the actual convention list. Here it is. GOPconvention.com. The official list. Let's go look. In fact, I'm just going to search Green. Wait, nothing came up. Uh-oh. This woman is outright lying to you. She either let herself be duped or she knew she was lying the whole time. But why even say that? Well, she's trying to make it sound like Republicans still want her in there, that she's still relevant, and that they're dumb because she's gone all the way over. But of course, she throws this kind of stuff out there, and thankfully, it's not hard to fact check her. But this is what we're going to see more and more, folks. PsyOps, one after the other. They're going to just keep pushing them one after the other. And get ready. Get ready. We are just under 70 days left to the midterms. You guys think it's been wild the last year? You ain't seen nothing yet. They're going to do everything they can, including more hoaxes. Well, they've been pushing this measles one, but RFK Jr. is calling it out. So 2 men died of measles in Pennsylvania, and a baby died too. The problem was those men were 87 and 89 years old. That's not measles that killed them. That's old age. But of course, they made this big deal about it and trying to put it on Maha. Oh yeah, and then a baby died as well. But the problem is when you actually looked into the case, the baby didn't die of measles. It died of spleen rupture. What are they trying to cover up there? That's a good question. But JFK or RFK calls it out. Says Shapiro's office may have fabricated the measles deaths. Now we got a question. Who do we trust? RFK Jr. or Josh Shapiro, Democrat governor of Pennsylvania? I don't think that's a tough one. But they've been pushing this over and over again. All kinds of disease spreads, pandemic fears. They started trying this in April with the cruise ship. Do you think they won't try other stuff? Of course they will. They're going to throw out everything they can. So keep your eyes open. Now, with all this going on, we are getting more polls. And yeah, polls are fake, but polls tell you trends. Polls lean left. So what happens when in New Hampshire, you get a poll that has the Republican leaning? That tells you something. It tells you that the Republicans are doing much, much better than being reported. And a 2-point lead for a Republican in these rigged polls ahead of time is more like a 5 to 10 point lead, especially when they can't get these to average up to 100 or add up to 100%. That's big danger. And this would be a flip. And if we're going to flip New Hampshire, that's very, very bad for them. Here's a very interesting survey that just came out. 1 year ago, Democrats were extremely motivated to vote, and now Republicans are catching up. Look at this. For months, this was the one area that was a little troublesome. And it was that because of all the psyops, all the disappointments, all the impatience. Republicans just weren't thinking about the elections, weren't excited to go vote. But now we're getting closer. And all these Republicans who work for a living, who actually don't pay attention all day because they have lives, who don't just sit around on the internet or, read the New York Times, getting angry about Trump. Turns out as soon as Republicans are paying attention, their motivation's going up. And now we're only a couple points behind the Democrats. Whereas at one point it was double digits. Again, this is scary for them because if you show up, we win. If you grab your friends, you make sure everybody shows up to vote, they cannot beat us because there is far more of us than them. Far more. We're looking at this point, Democrats might be, and I say might. And this includes moderate voting Democrats who just haven't been able to get themselves to switch over. Maybe 30% of the nation. Maybe. And we know nationwide, somewhere in the high 30s, low 40s of Americans consider themselves MAGA. That's a built-in base, a built-in 10-point lead. That's massive. They cannot beat us if we show up. They just cannot. That, my friends, this is going to be the most worrisome thing Democrats, globalists, all of them are seeing today. These numbers right here. Now, winning should be fun as well, right? And Trump had fun the other night calling out Ralph Norman, who we beat in South Carolina when he endorsed Darlene Graham and beat the establishment and the influencers who jumped all behind on the Norman train. Said Norman had the look of a good congressman, not great but good, but ruined his career when he endorsed Nikki Haley. Trump loves to rub it in, and he should, because as of right now, in a crazy poll that really sent shockwaves through the establishment, here's Harry to tell us how Trump stacks up amongst Republicans against the great Republicans in our history. And this is this is not what anybody touting the Trump's unpopular narrative want to hear. Check out Harry, my favorite New York Jew. By the way, he's shaved. Looking better, Harry. Good job.
The president Republicans most admire, it's Donald Trump. This is a historic comparison. A majority of Republicans say, 53% say, he's the Republican president they most admire. Ronald Reagan, who traditionally has won that much, Donald Trump nearly triples up on this. Reagan at just 18%. And then Abraham Lincoln, who by most historic accounts is the greatest president of all time. But Republicans say that the president that they most admire by, what is this? This is 6-7 times as many.
I wish I could see the heads on CNN behind Harry as they're exploding right now. Absolutely exploding. This, folks, when I grew up, Reagan was the god of Republicans. It was 90% Reagan approval. Everything was Reagan, Reagan, Reagan. They loved him, from Rush to Sean Hannity to, everybody in the party. Bush constantly hearkened to Reagan. He was the conservative god, lowercase g. That's who conservatives looked up to as the great one. The man who led the revolution, who started the modern conservative movement. And in some ways they were right, although Reagan's legacy doesn't hold up as well today. Some things do, some things don't. But the fact that Trump is now overwhelmingly the number one, that tells you we were looking for the leader who would follow through on everything, who would break the establishment. One thing Reagan was never able to do, and one thing he kind of slowed down trying to after he was shot. Trump fundamentally is reshaping the entire country, whereas Reagan successfully, by the way, inserted some real conservative ideals in the country as it was, and he bolstered the ship for a while. His economy, his economic ideas were great. He was a true patriot, stood against the Soviet Union, brought them down with brilliance of just outspending them. We beat them peacefully. It was amazing. Reagan has major kudos for those things, but he didn't break the establishment. He didn't break the media. He didn't break the Democrats. And now this is what Trump giving the people what they want. Let's finish the clip.
This is 6-7 times as many. Donald John Trump at 53%, easily crushing Abe Lincoln at 8%. And the Elon poll showed that he was the greatest president as well, Donald Trump.
Like this.
Now, this is going to be used as an excuse by the Democrats to say how crazy Republicans have gotten, that they love Trump this much more than Lincoln. But, I mean, come on, Lincoln was almost, 170 years ago. People just, they don't know him personally. The craziness, though, is Reagan isn't that long ago. This is massive, and I'm telling you right now, this is only going to change going forward. The fact that we still have these numbers right now for Trump in the time period when he's supposed to be at his most unpopular, they're throwing out poll after poll after poll right now, trying to show Trump in the 30s. And yet he's in the 30s, but he's the most admired Republican president of all time. Tell me how that makes sense, folks. The logic ain't there. People will show up for this because this means, historically speaking, people recognize the time we're in. We're in a historical time, and people fighting for their future in a historical time, loving their leader, are going to show up. And because of these kind of things, because of this and how pathetic the other side is, I have a feeling, folks, that the midterms are going to shock the world for Team Red. And I'm feeling better about that every day. All right, if you guys don't mind, hit that like and subscribe. Moving into the next segment here in a minute. But before I do want to catch up with the crowd. So let me get in and check what's going on here. Let's see. Michael Burris, $10 super chat, says, I've heard that conventions also can be used to change rules or leadership. True. So traditionally, first of all, this is the first Republican convention ever held for a midterms. Ever. That's a big deal. Because conventions are generally held in presidential elections because the delegates go and they choose the nominee. See, in the American system, we actually don't vote for our president. We vote for delegates who will then go vote for the president. And that's what the convention is all about. It's the delegates coming together to go choose our nominee. You don't do that for a midterms. You generally don't need to. And that's why we're running one now. I don't know. Why call it a convention? Now, it's possible they're just using the terminology, call it a convention. So, people can feel like it's an election event and it's actually just a big rally. That's possible. Trump is a brilliant marketer. He'd be happy to use that. But the other option is that maybe, just maybe, there's going to be some delegates making votes on rules, nominees, etc. So we'll wait and see how it happens. Thank you for the $10 super chat, Michael. Foundation Preacher with $2 super chat says, primaries get a bump since Dems not get one. Whoop. Primaries get a bump since Dems not get one. Preacher, I'm so sorry. The way you wrote that, I'm very confused, but thank you for the super chat. If you want to rewrite it and put it in so I can understand it better, please do. Chio Sat with a $5 super chat says, we have to be careful because liberals are willing to die for illegals. I'm sure they're willing to go to jail to cheat. Not true. And let me speak to this, Chio. By the way, Chio, as always, thank you for the support. Let me speak to that. The average liberal is not willing to do much of anything at all except vote and complain online. That's the average one. That is most of them. There are the few that are willing to go be crazy and do crazy stuff. But I tell you, in an emotional moment, which remember, they vote emotionally, they make decisions emotionally. It's easy to go plug yourself into something, go into a rally, go to a protest, and yes, possibly die for your belief in that moment. But when you're faced with the idea of prison long term, that cleans stuff up really fast. That they don't want to do that. Most of these people are lazy. Think about the fact when they are asked if they would allow illegals to stay at their house, and 99% of them say, no, we could just have a program for them. But I can't have people at my house. I don't have enough room. See, no, they're not willing to do what it takes to live up to what they vote for and what they say they believe in. And so that's where I disagree with you. I know that it feels that way because that's what you see in the media. That's what you see covered. You see the radical ones. But just remember, those radical people are a very small minority of them. On top of that, most of the people you see at the protests, etc., are paid. They are Soros paid through, it used to be USAID and other avenues, SPLC, that's all dried up. So without the payments, we're not seeing the protests anymore. We're not seeing riots. And on top of that, the Trump administration actually prosecutes these people and sends them to prison. You notice how all that's dried up? So yeah, there's not going to be that many people willing to go to prison for this. I'm just telling you right there. Some will, but it's not on a massive scale. Chiosep also says, watch Dems don't get more than 11% of the vote. If they got less than 11% of the vote, that would be one of the greatest days of my life. And I will be probably maybe the greatest other than my marriage and my kids being born. I'll say this, that I will be covering it all here. I plan on the midterm election night to be a night of celebration. So get ready now, folks. Mark that day, November 3rd. Mark it off. Prepare to stay up late. Maybe take off Wednesday afterwards. I'm going to be here all night. We're going to have a good time. Guests, lots of interaction with the chat, lots of up-to-date And we'll go until every race that's going to be decided that night is decided, whether that's 10 p.m. or 3 a.m. I will do it just like I did my last election stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I hopefully will not be slurring my words too much by the end, because you better believe I'm going to have some good craft brews. Kevin Tweedy says, do we have to wait until 28 to primary out Thune? Unfortunately, yes. Yeah, unfortunately, yes. Deuterino, the people in Portland are paid 100%. There's not even that many of them. Yesterday, the same old drunk man paid holding the flag. See, yeah, they're paid. They're paid. It's ridiculous. Gene Calvert asks, Bannon spent 3 months in Texas speaking against Sharia law there. How is he City of London when he's anti-Islam? Well, he does. He has connections at Chatham House. He took over Breitbart hostily after Andrew Breitbart went out. He was connected with Jeffrey Epstein, talked to him more than Bill Gates did and we have this documented, often trying to take out Trump. And Bannon was kicked out of the first Trump administration as the leaker, one of the main leakers. So, do I have the direct connection? No, but I can see how Steve Bannon has done fraudulent things his entire career. He's often lied, but you're not a good psyoper. You're not a good double agent if all you ever do is lie. So when Bannon speaks out, he'll often do so in a MAGA way. He'll often do so in a conservative way. He has great guests on sometimes. Absolutely. That's how you build trust. And then what you do, and what Bannon does, is he undermines Trump all the time. Oh, he's getting bad advice. We gotta fire up the Trump base. Get this. He makes bad endorsements. He goes against Trump in endorsements. He has his people like Rich Barris, Mark Mitchell, Posobiec, Raheem Kassam, Chong, Grace Miles Chong, go out and say crazy stuff against Trump, against the MAGA movement at times, against the people in charge, always undermining, while at the same time pretending to be on the same side. And one of the tells with Bannon is the enemy with him is almost always China. And he never brings up, at least and I used to listen to him all the time. In my experience, he never brought up City of London or the globalists in a meaningful way. And so I'm telling you, sometimes you just have to make these assumptions. You just have to make these connections and do your best to guess. If it turns out Bannon's just a misguided patriot at the end of it all, I'd be the first to admit I'm wrong if all that's proven. If Trump came out and said, Bannon, thank you for all you've done. We won. You were a major part of it. Okay. I'd be like, all right, maybe I missed something. But I'll tell you this. The people who are mostly tuned into War Room as their main MAGA news, oftentimes, in my opinion, even though they might support Trump, support the MAGA agenda, they more attract that whole, we're the real America firsters now. And that's what I've been noticing. So, but I do not trust him. I do not trust him. But remember, if you're going to be a double agent, you cannot lie all the time. You have to say truth embedded in lies. And, so that people build trust, and then you hit them and you hope that trust is built so they believe your lies. And this is as old as time. I mean, when the devil tempted Jesus, what did he use? He used scripture, the word of God. He used it to tempt Jesus. But thankfully, Jesus understood context, and he understood scripture so well that he was able to not be deceived. Yeah, it helps that, he's God himself. But that's the point, is that he knew truth. He was truth, so he could see through the lies. But the devil used scripture. Bannon uses stuff like, going after Sharia law, calling out stuff on China, being very America first in many of his policy and his talks. He uses that to build your trust. And then he is undercutting Trump the whole time. Lisa asks, will it be decided that night? The midterms, I believe by the end of the night we'll know. I really do. We knew with Trump, and that was a big one. The only way we won't know is if the House comes down to 1 or 2 seats, like it's closer than it is even now, and those 2 seats are in California. That's pretty much the only way we won't know who won that night. All right. Anything else here? How profitable was freeing the slaves? What does that have to do with anything? I don't know. You're welcome, Gene. Thank you for a great question. A lot of these people are bad news, even though they're pretending to be MAGA or pretending to be America first. I'm at the point where, I no longer trust any of these influencers with big audiences 100%. Okay. Not one of them. But I do have some that I still will listen to occasionally. I'll give my time to. But I do most of my own research. I don't rely upon others much anymore. But the people I, will still occasionally listen to are Steven Crowder. I'll listen to Matt Morse, although it's not that he's bad in any of me. I just don't like his presentation style. Tim Pool will have interesting conversations, so I'll listen to his occasionally. And gosh, then there's like the Promethean Action Ladies and everybody on Rich Does Politics. He does a great job. But the big names, very few do I give my time to at all anymore, because so many have turned out to be just liars and cheats, and I just don't trust. I'm at the point where it's like, if you have a massive audience, I pretty much don't trust you. Yeah, I hear you, Gene. Thank you very much. That was very kind of you. All right. Lots of interesting stuff here, but stuff I'm not going to get into too much. Yeah, Bovino's bad. We're going to get to Bovino in the Faga report, Grifter report. So we'll get there in a minute. Oh yeah. I mostly trust Bongino, I say mostly because I always allow for the fact that there's might be something else going on there, but I haven't caught him in anything. And in fact, he's been very good for the Trump administration. So because of that, I tend to trust. So that's another thing. It's like, is it good for what we're doing, or is it bad? What are they helping us, or are they dividing us? If they're dividing us at all, I'm like, nope, no time for you. No time for you at all. Morris is anti-Semitic? What? I didn't know that. I don't listen to him enough to ever come across something like that. Dude Reno says, as soon as you hit 100,000 subs, YouTube hammers you with algorithms. It's possible. Again, I didn't say everybody who has a big audience is bad. I just said I don't trust everybody who's got a big audience, because I know what it takes to get there, and it's very, very hard to do it organically. And most of them have betrayed us. So, do I think Steve Hilton is a plant? No. I think Hilton is like a moderate Republican who is probably a little more identifies with the establishment, but he's a little bit of a liberal Republican. He's not MAGA, but he's also would be a jump forward light years for California. So, that's where I feel like with him. Surfer says, when my channel gets very big, I try to branch out to smaller channels. Sure, I still watch Timcast. Timcast still has great debates. I'll say that. I don't need him for my news, but I like his debates. And by debates, he just has discussions on. Anytime he has a liberal on, it's great, because he just reams them. It's very entertaining. But please don't leave my channel if I ever blow up. I didn't call Matt a narcissist. We don't need to get in a fight here, guys. Some people have different ideas of these people. I don't know Matt well enough to say if I agree with any of. I just don't like the way he presents his content. That's not a knock on him, because he's doing a great job. He's got a great audience. he's just he's a little dry to me in how he presents, but that's okay because obviously he's doing. I guess more people like that than me, so I'm the wrong one here. Morse is killing it. He is killing it, and good to him. Good to him. If he's spreading the right news and doing it, I mean, I highly respect that. As I know, at least from what I can tell, Morse he did everything his own. Chris Yoon, I don't know those. Better not to mention other YouTubers, says Dude right now. I got to though. I'm going to be honest about my space. I don't know what it hurts. I mean, but we don't have to be tribal. I'm just giving you guys my opinion. Okay, let's keep moving. So, Robert Gouveia, I mean, I'll look. The problem is, folks, I have so little time that I have to listen to stuff now. So, and I do appreciate it. You guys, so many people send me recommendations all the time, and I really appreciate that. And I do check out a lot of it, but I gotta say that because I'm creating, doing my own research, obviously family, and other work I got to do on the side. Because of all that, I have very little time to listen to anything extra beyond what I already check out. Just being real with you guys. So don't ever take it personal if I can't follow what you do. What about Nux? I'll tell you guys, after yesterday's discussion, I did listen to Nux of one of his videos for about 20 minutes. Very funny. Not for me. I'll just be honest with you guys. And it's not that I had anything against it. It's just that I am in a place now where if I want funny, I'm going to listen to something that's like pop culture usually. Or comedy on purpose. If I'm getting politics, I need meat. I need deeper stuff because I know all the surface stuff. So I need to be learning something I don't know. And Nux is not helping me do that. He was funny. And I enjoyed it, but I was like, okay, I can see why people like him, but it's not something I'm going to be going back to very much. I do like Asmongold. I will listen to a lot of Asmongold stuff because, see, Asmon's interesting because he gives me the perspective of somebody outside of the MAGA bubble, but also very based. And so he helps me understand what people with common sense are thinking that are on the outside of the movement. And so Asmon gives us he gives great insights into, like, listening to Asmon. I kind of pick up on, like, all right, this is what, the normies are listening to. This is what regular based people are thinking that aren't super political. So I actually learn a lot listening to Asmon. His stuff's very helpful to kind of like stay in touch with people who aren't hyper political. So thanks, Deuterino. Appreciate you. You're banned from Tim Pool's chat. I thought I was the only one who banned, but I'm finding out more and more of these guys ban. I can only take Asmon for so long. Well, I only listen to his clips, and I only listen to ones that are on topics I want to listen to. I don't listen to them all the time. X22 is great. I used to listen to X22 a lot before I started doing a show like his. And now I just check in occasionally. Cringe when people talk as if people are dumb or slow or with their hands, the bird hands. Bird hands? What do you mean? Asmon went after terrorist supporters finally, was cleansing. Finally, yeah, I mean, Asmon's great. He's very based, even though I like him. Listen, I'm not going to say anything bad about X22. Okay. Dave's great. He's a patriot. He does great work. He helped me kind of understand the financial workings of what Trump was doing way before anybody else. But But now I just listen to other people. I think do it a little, give me a little more information for what I'm looking for. Promethean doesn't ban. Well, they have a lot more viewers than me. Maybe they're smart on that. But I'm always going to ban because I like actually having a real chat. Okay, let's get into it. So yesterday it dripped out. Actually, it didn't drip out. Yesterday, the Trump administration dropped some massive bombs about Afghanistan, about Biden's disastrous pullout in Afghanistan. Now, it started with Trump posting this, honoring the families of the people who died. He said, "Today we honor the 13 brave American heroes who were tragically killed 5 years ago by evil jihadi terrorists in Kabul. Catastrophe was a result of Sleepy Joe Biden's totally botched withdrawal from the country, who left our wonderful servicemen and women defenseless and allowed the Taliban to free thousands of bloodthirsty terrorists and criminals held at Bagram. This is one of the greatest atrocities in the history of our nation. We can never forget it was a result of sheer incompetence of Joe Biden and the Democrats in charge. During my 24 campaign, I met with Abby Gate Gold Star families, wonderful people and great patriots who were totally ignored and disrespected by the Democratic Party. I promised them we would deliver justice when I returned, and we have. We quickly apprehended the evil mastermind responsible for the deaths of our service members, and has been one of my greatest honors as Commander-in-Chief. May God bless America, and may God bless Abby Gate Gold Star families. You will never be forgotten." Now, this is very smart heading into the midterms, because this was the moment that America pretty much fully turned on the Biden administration, and it was early in his term. So this is still in everybody's minds. It was one of the biggest political disasters in history, and one of the greatest atrocities to our military in history. So bringing it back and being on the pro side, very smart politically, but it's also smart to get in people's minds and remind them of who the Democrats are, while also fixing the problem. Now, here's Sean Parnell, the same day after Trump welcomed the families, said, "We're not going to forget you." Sean Parnell drops this about some of the documents they've been discovering that were classified and hidden about what happened that day.
5 years ago, I watched Kabul fall. So did every veteran of the war in Afghanistan. 2 decades of us. The ones who deployed in 2002 and the ones who were in grade school when it started and grew up to fight there themselves. Entire generations of Americans gave their years, their bodies, and in too many cases, their lives to that country. And 5 years ago, we watched it come apart in a matter of days. Every veteran of that war carries it, the friends we buried, the ones we couldn't save, the years we gave that suddenly seemed to vanish into a headline. And if you fought in Afghanistan, or if you love someone who did, you know exactly what I mean. And I want to say this plainly to every one of you: what you did there mattered. The way it ended does not erase what you gave. In the middle of that collapse at Abbey Gate, 13 Americans gave their lives. They died protecting people they had never met. Strangers, frightened, with no claim on them except that they were in danger, and our people were there to stand between them and the mayhem that was coming. That is who they were. That is who all of you were, across 20 years, the ones who ran toward the danger. To the families of those 13, and to every Gold Star family from that war, the country moved on fast, but I know you didn't get to. I know 5 years is not a number that means anything when it's your son, your daughter, your husband, or your wife. We have not forgotten them. I will not let this country forget them. And you deserve more than remembrance. You deserve the truth about what happened in Afghanistan, told fully and told straight. So let me tell you where that stands. I have the privilege of chairing a team with extensive military service in Afghanistan. These patriots commanded troops, they took fire, they carried the wounded, and they buried their friends. They knew how decisions in Afghanistan became consequences because they are the ones who lived with them. We are conducting a thorough review of what took place in Afghanistan, and I'm going to be honest with you about what that's turning up. The deeper we look, the more there is to look at. We are finding things that we did not expect. Recently, my team recovered highly relevant classified documents, material that should have been disclosed, stashed, and hidden away in safes where they would not be found. And after the team reviewed these documents, it became clear why someone tried to hide them. I'm not going to give you a convenient version of the truth, nor will I give you a rushed one. Here is my commitment. We are following the evidence to wherever it leads and to whoever it touches. We're not accepting incomplete or comfortable answers. The American people and the families who sacrificed everything are owed the full picture of how and why those decisions were made, and we're going to give it to them. That's a promise. Not just for today, not just for an anniversary, but until it's done. To everyone who served there, thank you. To the families who gave the most, we are with you. And to the 13, we say your names, and we will keep saying them long after the cameras are gone. God bless you all, and God bless this great country that we call home.
Whew. Parnell is the man. What are they going to show us? I mean, this stuff's crazy. Hidden classified documents stashed away during investigation. The Afghanistan bombing under Biden 13 hidden in safes, concealed to not be found. So we're only at the beginning of this, but folks, this is going to be a big deal. And I tell you right now, they're going through them. They're combing through. They're doing their due diligence, but they're also going to be timing involved with this because there always is. This is about more of the exposure. Tearing down the deep state, reminding everybody how bad it was. And we can only guess as to what we're going to find out in these documents, but I'm telling you, it's not going to be pretty. There's a reason they hide all this stuff. And again, timing, very interesting. And also, thank God we have a president, a Department of War now that is actually fighting for the soldiers. And I am telling you right now, this has everybody involved in the Biden administration very scared. And it's very smart how they did this as well, because they teased it. You want to get max impact on something, you don't just drop it out of nowhere. You tease it and get people ready for it. And then they're waiting. So I imagine we'll probably know something in the next month, or maybe they drop it in October. But I have a feeling we're going to get a lot more disclosure ramping up in the next 2 months ahead of the midterms. And we should all be celebrating that. So talking about disclosure, Trump posted this today. USAID report. We're still uncovering USAID stuff. USAID report finds more than 100 UNRWA employees participated in the Hamas atrocities on October 7th. Were we funding a massive part of that attack on Israel on October 7th? Are we uncovering the deep state ties to that? This sure seems like it. Cannot wait to see what comes out of this. But man, we're finding out the craziest stuff, and we're only at the surface, folks. We're only at the surface. USAID is going to have more connection to all kinds of atrocities, all kinds of operations, far beyond what we've already seen. We're finding this out. SPLC, as that progresses, as that investigation progresses, we're going to keep finding out more. How much was all this happening? How much were we led to believe of organic things, protests, riots, terror attacks, fake polls, fake movements? How much of it was, how much are we going to find out was like we were led to believe is real, organic, and was all just us, was all our people funneling money from our government. I mean, look at the fraud going on. How much were we running our deficits into the ground while also funneling our opposition and paying for it, paying to create this idea that we have these massive, overwhelming, unbeatable enemies, and they could be at any place at any time. How much of the fear is fake? How much of all this has been a setup for so long? We don't have any clue. But it seems to be more and more like this touched almost everything. And as the money dries up more and more over the next couple years, we're going to start realizing, hey, that's funny. Haven't seen this lately. Just like people are doing this summer. Where's all the riots and protests before the midterms? Even in pop culture. Where's all the rap music trending on the charts? I thought that was number one. Why are these people not so famous anymore? Why aren't they trending? Why are Democrats suddenly broke and in debt? Why are there less terror attacks? Why hasn't there been a false flag here? How much of it was us creating, and by us, I mean our government working with the globalists, how much of it was an illusion to create a world that wasn't actually the real world? That's going to be fascinating to unpack as this continues. See, they want you to look at the Jews. They want you to look at Israel. It's so much bigger than that. They want to distract you so you don't look at the real enemies. And yes, Israel has a deep state. And yes, Israel's done stuff. That's not me defending Israel. It's me saying that the focus is the hoax. The focus should be on all the system in general that touched all these places. It's nuts, and it's only going to keep coming out. It's only going to keep coming out more and more. Now, we are pulling off things that, in a regular year, our FBI might put like 2 or 3 things out like this. This is every other week at this point, these operations we're doing. Kash Patel writes, Operation Riptide was the FBI's historic 60-day campaign targeting cyber criminals preying on Americans here at home and around the world. We went after this criminal enterprise more aggressively than we ever have, making over 200 arrests, 50 million in illegal cryptocurrency and stolen virtual assets, extraditing 6 cyber criminals from 3 different continents, executing 6 technical infrastructure takedowns, and seizing 170 domains and servers. With our improved AI tech, increased intelligence sharing, and aggressive work with partners overseas, FBI Cyber is now built to crush criminal networks no matter where they operate. This is massive. Again, one of the things that's easy to take for granted is when stuff just doesn't happen and you don't know what you've been protected from. You don't know what's been cleaned up. Well, right now in America, we are experiencing in the last year the safest year we've had in decades. When it comes to violent crime, the safest year we've had in a century. That's because what Trump's doing, it's not in front of you because it's preventing things from happening. And we take it for granted so easily, don't we? How much crime has been averted? How much money is being saved by people? How many IDs are not being stolen anymore? They were leading us to believe we lived in a very scary world. But the reason it was so scary, the reason so much bad was happening, is because our government was condoning it. Our government was allowing it. And now that we have a government actually doing the job it's supposed to do, which is protect its citizens, that's the number one job of our government. Now that's actually doing that. Wow. What a world we could live in. What is this world actually going to be like moving forward? It's going to be a much better place for our kids and grandkids. That's for sure. This is amazing stuff. Amazing. And we just keep purging even our own government. United States Secret Service. Anthony Guglielmi, chief of comms for the U.S. Secret Service, on accusations of deleted text messages from DHS Inspector General. What? It appears, per CNN and Real Clear Politics, by the way, Real Clear Politics does excellent investigative work, 3 officials with U.S. Secret Service comm shop have been placed on leave and stripped of their security clearances and devices related to potential misconduct investigation. This includes spokesman Anthony Guglielmi. That's a hard name to say. He was part of the cover-up of the infamous missing text from at least 24 Secret Service officials and agents related to the events of January 6. Uh-oh. Ruh-roh. He claimed the devices were wiped as part of a system migration of cell providers. Some of the texts belonged to Secret Service Director James Murray, who later left for Snapchat. Assistant Director of Office and Protective Operations Kim Cheadle resigned after Butler, and Robert Engel, head of Trump's detail. That's scary. Who was in President's vehicle on Jan 6 and a key figure in Cassidy Hutchinson's imaginary confrontation that afternoon. Despite his defiant tone of no wrongdoing on behalf of the Secret Service, keep in mind every federal agency had received preservation notices from Democrats shortly after Jan 6, so the purge also represented destruction of evidence and obstruction of Congress. He later admitted the texts were not recoverable, which is impossible. He helped Biden, DHS, and Secret Service divert blame to Joseph Kafari, Department's Inspector General. Top Dems and even Biden White House accused him of stonewalling the disclosure. Not true. Our Secret Service compromised as well. But we're clearing it out. That's scary. But think about this. When you recognize the Secret Service is compromised, it sure makes all those assassination attempts on Trump that were allowed to go as far as they did, like with Butler or at the golf course with Brandon Ruth, makes it more obvious, doesn't it? Compromised people. But the purge is happening, and that should make you all feel much better. That's the government doing its job. Now, while the government's doing its job there, we also continue to see Iran getting worse and worse. And this is a huge win for the Trump administration, as this will, we're defeating the globalists at home, exposing them, and tying up their money. We're seeing the results of all that. And then abroad, Iranians, it's getting so much worse over there. Inside the country, they're describing daily life reduced to survival. There's no fuel, no electricity, no work, no money, no water, no hope. Oh boy, they're going to take it soon. Iranian people are thirsty for freedom. I hope the world won't leave us alone. Oh, it's coming. Here's a scene of fuel lines in Tehran.
صف بنزین رو ببینید از اون ته با کجا
Look at
من
that.
خودم هم الان تو همین صف بودم یعنی 3 رو طول.
That's not parking, folks. That's the fuel lines. How long they gonna put up with that? I don't think much longer. I really don't. So as that continues and gets ready to turn, I think in a major way for America and for sovereigntists against the globalists. One of the big things we've been fighting here at home is, and has been in the news lately, is the flock cameras. Well, there's some new stuff on flock. And this is, again, guys, why, when I get these big pushes of people, what about flock? What about data centers? Aren't you worried? And the answer is no. And the reason I'm not is because I recognize that once awareness happens, usually the people create a form of justice around it. Awareness is always the beginning of justice. Exposure is the beginning of justice. Well, the flock camera thing just took a new angle as this is getting thrown across X and is trending all over the web. Flock CEO Garrett Langley just went on Fox and said Americans need to compromise their privacy. His exact words, when people talk about one of these, privacy or safety, they're prioritizing the wrong thing. And what we have to prioritize as a country is compromise. Now, there's some ways where you could say this is a true statement, but you don't say that to Americans. There's the same company putting license plate cameras over the country that can track where you go. This is all over the place, and it's bringing a lot of attention, and they're starting to get some results. Josh Hawley. Americans don't surrender their privacy rights when they drive to work, drop their kids off at school, or go to church. I'm investigating flock cameras to determine who has access to hundreds of Americans' hundreds of millions of Americans data on what they're doing with it. Now, this is how you get tech. You get justice in tech. The people rise up and we get oversight and accountability. That is actually what our government's for, to protect the people from those who would take advantage of them and those who would invade them. That's the main role of the government. Flock cameras, tech, all that stuff's coming. What do we do with it? How do we watch over it? That's what matters most. And that, by bringing attention to that, we're starting to see some results. And here's in Florida, DeSantis going off on flock cameras. Here's DeSantis right here.
These cameras, the license plate readers, I think it's out of control. And this is something that in Florida, you know, our highway patrol, we have readers for like tolling by plate and things like that. Now, I've never supported the automatic tickets being sent if you're speeding. I think a human being has to do that. And so I've never embraced that. But, and so this was something that was kind of out there in that vein. And then with this whole flock situation, it's now being used not for tolling by plate or things like that, but for actual criminal surveillance. And so these are done by police departments and sheriff's departments by and large. I've asked for an overview of what's going on in state agencies. There are some, but it's a lot smaller than what we have at the local level. And so I'm all about having law enforcement have tools to be able to hold criminals accountable. I think that's important that we do that. And no one's been stronger on law enforcement than me. But I don't want to have this become a surveillance state. I don't want there to be a situation. And that's why we wanted an AI Bill of Rights. Remember, we were pushing for that because the flock is artificial intelligence. So whether it's online with digital surveillance or whether it's with cameras, at what point are we just going to be free to not have to deal with any of that? And so I think it needs to be overhauled for sure. I know New Hampshire did something that really kept it. It's interesting. They put something in a bill about using them on state, so the sheriffs and the police can use it on state right-of-ways. And I asked Jared, I said, well, is the state involved? State doesn't get any of the information or anything. It's just like they're doing it. So we don't even really know, you know, like the police department or whatever. And when I see like a police officer using this to track like an ex-girlfriend, I'm like, you know, what the hell's going on? You know?
Exactly. Again, I've said this 100 times, but I'm going to keep hammering it home. You cannot stop the advancement of tech and innovation. It's just not going to happen. As if we don't do it, our enemies will, and it'll be used against us. We have to keep up. It's how you become the best, greatest economy in the world, the greatest country in the world, is you innovate and you grow faster than everybody else. And you have the best tools. We're not going to get away from that. But what we can do is force our government by being involved. Remember, we're a government of the people, by the people, for the people. That was taken from us. We can take it back. When we take it back and have good leaders, DeSantis, Trump, et cetera, that's our job, to put the right leaders in place, to refuse to allow these things to be out of control. AI is not going anywhere. It's only going to advance. So you run with it while making sure we're protected by our citizenship rights. Flock cameras, same thing. There is no fighting this stuff. Okay. I mean, you can, but eventually, you know, you might have a great couple years where you fight off all your tech and you get to live in your little idyllic world. And then somebody comes in and takes everything from you because they didn't forsake the tools. The world is always advancing. Humanity is always advancing. We're always creating new things. That's never going to change. So don't fear the tool. Not fear, but make sure you're patrolling the people behind it. And that is what is happening here. That's why this awareness matters. See, the people get mad about this, and then all of a sudden our leaders start responding. This is the right way to do it. And we'll see where this ends up. But again, I don't fear tools. Whenever new tech comes out, I'm not afraid of it. Listen, if you're afraid of surveillance, throw away your phone. Throw it away, because your phone tracks everything you do, everything you say when you're in the room with it, everything you say everywhere you go, what you buy, when you poop. It tracks everything. But you are trusting that Apple, Samsung, Google, you're trusting that they're being held in check by the government. That's what you're trusting. Because, yeah, you might say, well, no, they're a good company. I trust them, which is retarded if you think Apple or Samsung or any of these are good companies. You think they're doing good? No, they're not, because they won't enforce their deals with you unless the government forces them to. So you're making a deal with that. You're making a deal with the devil. And the only one keeping it in place is the people making sure we have the right leaders in place. That's how we do it. So flock cameras, no different than your phone. Who's behind it? How are we going to control it? How are we going to regulate it and hold it accountable? Hold the people behind them accountable. That's what matters. And that's what's happening in this administration, this current version of the US where we're trending. This is happening, and it's a good thing. So stay involved. Do not fear, but keep moving forward. And with all this going on, exposure, accountability, winning, Trump posts this. He just decided out of nowhere again to post the discrepancy between him and Obama at 18. Why? Because Obama came from Kenya. He's Trump, patriotic American in his military school uniform. And Obama looking like the typical commie socialist. I think Trump is preparing us for things to come. As MJ Chu says, Trump's posting images directly from the Q thingy again. He knows who Obama really is. It's true. He does. And this is all setting up for timing. We're winning, folks. We're in control. We're in control. We're winning. And it's only a matter of time before we start seeing major breaks. They're setting it up. They're letting us know they know, as Sean Parnell just did with Afghanistan. And then the timing is when we all get to know, which I believe is coming. All right, folks, hit that like and subscribe. Thank you very much. I got one more quick segment on something Trump's doing with energy and the economy, and then we're going to get into the Grifter Report. So hit that like and subscribe. Let me catch up in the chats here. Foundation Preacher with a $10 super chat. Thank you, friend. He said the character allowance for $2 super chats is crazy low. I'm sorry. YouTube doesn't, I don't care if you give me a $2 super chat. I'm very honored by it, but YouTube apparently is mad about it. So he said, I had to write it weird. Republicans are going to get a primary bump. Democrats won't get a chance to offset. That's a big deal. Absolutely. Absolutely. And thank you, Foundation. Very appreciative of you and your support of the channel. You've been here a long time. Freenez with a $20 super chat. Thank you, Free. Says, regarding flock cameras, Santa Barbara added contract with flock. My knee jerk was sus of Santa Barbara. Think they're being used to find illegal immigrants. Assumed it was a move against Trump. Reflects how little I trust Cali government. And that makes a lot of sense. California's government does not deserve any trust whatsoever. So I don't blame you on that one iota. Not even a little bit. So, but thank you, Freenez, for the super chat. Very humbled by you guys and your support. Let's see here. Man, you guys had a lot of comments. Let me see the ones where I was tagged. If I can. It does cut off some of them, so sorry if I miss your comment. You can always write it again, and hopefully I'll catch it. I saw one I wanted to talk to. G-Shell says, your phone isn't recording your license plate and sending it to the closest cop. Huge difference. You're right. It's not. But my phone definitely knows my car, and it also has a GPS in it that knows exactly where I'm driving and where I came from. And if it wasn't regulated, it would send it to the cops. And that's the difference, is that the flock cameras are relatively new and haven't been, like, at least to the public awareness hasn't forced that regulation on it yet, hasn't forced that accountability, whereas it does with cell phones. So the difference is negligible. You think somebody couldn't, you think a cop, if let's take away the regulation, let's take away the protection. You think the cell phone couldn't send the data to the cops of your location, where you're going, where you've been, and also who it belongs to, and then they can trace that directly to the car you're in? Come on. It's no different. It's a different way of communicating it, but it's no different. Your cell phone has all that info. Everything they need to bust you. In fact, maybe even more, because the flock cameras can't tell you where you're coming from and where you're going, whereas a cell phone often can. So, because it memorizes all that stuff, and your GPS might have it in there. So, yeah, the cell phones are worse than flock cameras. And the thing is that cell phones have been universally accepted, and we've all made a trust compact with those companies and the government that cell phones aren't being used against us. That's what we've decided to do. But if you think flock cameras are worse than cell phones, that's crazy. Lisa Doxy says, any word on what was in the plane to Russia with Ratcliffe? No, there's a lot of guesses, and there's a lot of psyop on it. A lot of lies being out there. We don't know. I'll just put it that way. We don't know. They're really trying to push the idea that that there was a fight where Putin basically was angry at Ratcliffe and kicked him out. I don't believe that for a second. Vituperationist says cops have the ability to get all of our cell phone data at all times. I believe the Supreme Court just ruled that they don't. They were using that for a while. You're absolutely right about that, but they don't have that anymore based on what the Supreme Court ruled for the Fourth Amendment. But so we haven't seen how that's all played out yet, but Kate, we are winning. Yeah, satellites as well, right? Kate Shui says we use cell phones to find and kill an insurgent in Iraq. Yeah, I mean, G-Shell, cops saying they only catch these people with flocks. They never say a phone. You need a warrant to get a phone. Yeah, but you just completely missed my point, didn't you? The flock cameras will soon be, because of the awareness, under the same agreements that the phones are. That's what the people are going to push for, at least something very similar. And that's the difference, is that the cell phones have just been entered into different agreements. But us, by enforcing this, by making awareness of it and showing that people aren't happy, they'll be forced to create limitations for the flock, for citizens, and that's what they'll do. Rafi says, I think people are more trusting of phones. They can shut it off if they choose, not that they will, whereas we can't turn off a flock camera. Well, you're right, but you can avoid a flock camera, can't you? You can technically, just like a phone, nobody wants to turn off their phone. And just like nobody wants to not go into a public place, but you could choose not to. You could have DoorDash bring all your groceries to you. You could take back alley routes that take way longer to get to where you want to go. You could walk. You have options, don't you? But we don't want to. We want convenience. And the convenience is where the flock cameras catch us. Just like the convenience is where the cell phones catch us. So, yeah, you can't shut off a flock camera, but you can avoid them. So it's the same idea. Obama's related to Cheney? No. Well, I guess eighth cousins, aren't we all related at some point? Reeve Keeper says, I know from experience, I installed the monitors in the real-time crime center in NO. All the cameras on Earth can be monitored from there if they have the Max. That is crazy, but I totally believe it. Yeah. If you start issuing Israeli beepers, you'll tell you're being controlled by BB. If you accept a beeper, I don't even know what to tell you. I don't know who wants to live with a beeper anymore. It makes sense you could catch, Middle Easterners with it because they're like, the backward societies. They're like, beeper, very cool technology. We'll use our beepers. Israelis are like, here you go. These cost us 10 cents a piece. Like we can't get rid of these things fast enough. But give an American a beeper, they're going to laugh. Let's see here. That's not what they're doing. Those flocks have facial recognition, AI connected to it, pushing alerts to cops in live time. And let's get to the flock alpha drone. Yeah, but your phone has facial recognition. The point is that we already have surveillance technology we live with at our hip, attached to our hip. Okay. And the only difference between that tech and the flock tech when it comes to surveillance and your privacy is the agreements and the regulations. That's it. That's the only difference. Sure, flock has a couple different tools, just like your cell phone has a couple different tools. But that's not the point, is it? The point is that surveillance-wise, a cell phone is just as bad as a flock camera. The only difference is we've made agreements with cell phones and the government regulates them in a way that they don't with flock cameras. That's the only difference. So I think this is a moot argument. Right now, folks, like on the flock thing, because I'm not going to do this all day, but I'll say this. Right now, the nation, especially MAGA, which is running the nation, is basically going the way of Florida. We have, Florida has been the state at the forefront of most of where we're going. And then the other person leading is Trump. So if Florida cracks down on flock cameras, you better believe most red states will be behind it. And eventually, if the red states all start doing it, eventually you'll have the federal government, as long as it's controlled by MAGA people, whether it's Trump, Vance, Rubio, etc., maybe DeSantis, they will be behind that too. So you got to know, like, this is the beginning of the reining in flock cameras. That's my point. That's all I'm trying to get to. Do you guys understand, like, this stuff is not new? I mean, did you guys ever see the movie Enemy of the State in 1998? 1998! How they were tracking him everywhere? Yeah, that movie was a little exaggerated, but that was almost 30 years ago. Nowadays, that's not exaggerated. So, we've had that surveillance abilities for a long time. K-Shui says turning off your cell phone doesn't help. I've heard that. I didn't want to get into it though, but I believe mostly you're right. Yeah, it does do some things, but not everything. Oh boy, Brian, God bless you. I just don't believe in that theology. That I think, anyways, we're not going to get into it today. We're not doing the fear thing. Violence of Poetry, my position on flock, new tech's always the Wild West. They've pushed too far, I'll be put on a leash. Absolutely. That's exactly my point. Exactly my point. Did I talk about Ilhan Omar's son getting raided? No, I haven't seen that. D34, everyone wants to LARP like they're Ted K. LARP. It's funny you brought that up. There's a movie about him coming out. Linda says they'll find us no matter what we have or not have. Why are there so many missing people? That's a good question, isn't it? Cat Crazy, the winner of the program, the couple's running away. They hid. They got 250,000. That's pretty awesome. They got turned in, of course. Oh man. Okay, let's get into the next thing. Okay, folks. Because we got a lot going on. Oh yeah, the new cars, so much stuff. There's so much crazy stuff going on. All right, you guys ready? We got, this will be a quicker segment. I just want to get into the what the Trump administration is doing with the electrical grid. As it is very important. And then we're going to get to the Grifter Report. I got a lot on Tucker Carlson today. So a lot on it. Very interesting stuff going on, guys. Very interesting. I don't give two flocks. You know what's funny? Let me say this real quick because I think it's important to kind of just like I'll go back to the flocks for a second. We're, again, I'm going to talk from my faith, okay, from as being a Christian. We're commanded not to worry. What does that mean? Does it mean we don't pay attention to threats? Does it mean we ignore basic affronts to our safety and our families and our friends' safety? No, of course not. But what it does mean is that trust that God and good people are eventually going to turn things in the right direction. That's what it means. Romans 8:28 promises us that all things will be, put together for our good for those who love him. So if you're a Christian, you're good. And it doesn't mean we're not going to have hardship. It doesn't mean we won't have hard times, but there's no point in worrying about those times. So when people freak out about tech, they're not trusting God. They're not trusting the people God has put on this earth that can be our leaders, be fight for us. You're not trusting yourself to be a part of that, to partner with God in making better things happen. So I don't worry about any of this stuff. I don't. I find it interesting. And then I'm always looking for how can this be dealt with? Because I tell you what, I used to be a very scared person, especially when I was a teenager and in my early 20s. And you know what? Almost nothing I feared ever happened. In fact, they did a University of Wisconsin, study about 10 years ago, and they determined that 86% of the things people worry about never happen. 86%. And I look at all the people who've always had bad plans for us, evil plans, and there's plenty of them, over and over again. Throughout history, every aspect of history, there has been evil. There have been people trying to do terrible things. Governments wanting to do terrible things. And what happens? Somehow, life in general, not in every aspect, but life in general keeps getting better. I am currently sitting to you on a screen in an office that's air conditioned, where I get to talk to thousands of people about what's going on in the world, my thoughts. And you guys get to listen and tune in from work, home, whatever. And yeah, you might be struggling to pay a couple bills, but the vast majority of you watching probably aren't hungry. Probably have food if you need it. Vast majority of you probably are in shelter right now. You definitely were able to afford a screen with internet. We live in blessed times. Blessed times. Even though, yeah, it's scary. But you're also being force-fed way more information about the world than they were in the past. See, 100 years ago, you could walk through life, and if you wanted to know what was going on, somebody either had to tell you or you had to go looking for it. Read a book, read a newspaper. Now it's thrown directly to you. But it was very easy to just go about life and not know all the terrible plans made against you, made against the people. And so you didn't even have to think about it, which made it easier not to fear. Now we're pushed all this stuff. But I'll tell you what, those plans were always being made. Those people were always looking at ways to control you, hurt you, etc. Ruin our country, ruin our lives. That's never stopped. Ever. You're just more aware of it now. And yet we keep winning. We keep moving forward in life. Everybody who fights eventually wins in one way, shape, or form. And we cannot give up. I'm not running away from the fight. I'm also not worrying about it. Okay. And so if you're scared of flock cameras, why? What are you afraid of? Could something bad happen? Yeah, but something bad could happen. You could fall down your stairs tomorrow. You could slam, your fingers in a door. You get in a car wreck. Yeah, there's a million things that could happen that are bad every day. But guess what? Most of those things never happen. So I just don't understand the fear. I don't understand it. You're never going to get it on this channel. I'm never going to spread fear to you guys. I'm never going to come on here crashing out because that's not who I am. And that's not what I want to communicate. Do I have bad days? Do I get scared sometimes? Yeah. But I always recenter myself. We've gone through hundreds, and hundreds of years, thousands of years of threats and terrible things and asteroids from space and comets flying in and, evil people in charge of things. And we keep moving forward. So I just telling you guys, I don't why are you people why? And obviously not everybody. I just don't understand. What are we so worried about? I just don't get it. I could spend all my life worrying because there's a million things out there to be scared of, but what's the point? What's the point? Fear is faith in evil. That's how I look at it. I'm not going to have faith in evil. I'm going to have faith in God. And I'll deal with evil when it comes my way. I'll deal with issues when it comes my way. But, my God says he's a good God who only gives good gifts. And so I'm not worried about that. He promises he'll never leave me. And he promises I can do all things with him. And he promises he'll make good out of every situation. Those are promises. So I'm going to live with those promises. And I'm not going to jump into every fear-based thing. And, it's one of the reasons I don't like covering this stuff sometimes, because I don't see the big deal. I don't. But, that's because I have trust that if we do our jobs, everything will work out. And in my life, listen, I've lost my parents. I've lost my brother. I've lost many jobs. I've been broke. I've, been in accidents. I've had serious injuries. I've been sick. I've, gone through great depressions. I've, almost gotten divorced because I was in such a bad place. And then obviously not, thank you. We fixed our marriage. But I found that I've faced hell many times. And it's just oh, hey, I didn't give up. I kept trusting my God. I kept I kept believing, and I kept getting better, and life keeps getting better. And I'm not rich. I live paycheck to paycheck, but I do support my beautiful family, and I'm happy. And so it's I'm too well fed. I could speak to eat a little bit less. But, the point is what are we worried about? I don't understand. If I thought something was I do talk about stuff that could actually be a problem, but you know why I talk about it? I don't talk about it because I'm trying to create fear. I only talk about these things to give us a target of what to shoot and how to do it. That's the only reason I talk about scary things, because there's always a solution. Okay? That's why I talk about scary things, because you go after it. All right? So if you ever see a problem and you're just overwhelmed and scared by it, then walk away and stop thinking about it and come back when you're ready to have a solution and fight. All right? So that's how I look at it. I'm just never going to buy into the fear porn and all that stuff. Chio Sat with a $5 super chat said, if you're worried about being surveilled, watch the series Person of Interest. Very enlightening about surveillance and how AI technology will control. Person of Interest. Was that with, what's his face? Jim Caviezel? I never watched that. I heard it was good. Thanks, Chio. Build Fire for Christ with a $5 super chat says, Proverbs 15:14, the heart of him who has understanding seeks knowledge, but the mouths of fools feed on folly. Keep speaking to it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Build Fire. I will do my best. That's all I can commit to. Doom Guy with a $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Doom. Appreciate the support. You guys are awesome. Okay. Let's keep moving here. All right. Agree with my point about not fearing. Must have had an Alex Jones memory recall. I've been watching the flock cameras and they're scary. They're scary. The globalists, they want to control us. And they're going to use the flock cameras to tell you, they're going to take pictures of you. And they're going to put those pictures up in their bedroom. And God only knows what they'll do with them there. Oh my God. It's horrible. All right. Some people are pessimistic. That's life. Yeah, that's, it's a choice. Pessimism is a choice. Sandman says negative doomer information gets more clicks and engagement. You can. I'm not gonna, but I guess I'll never be the biggest then. That's okay. Dan the Man Green says, I'm worried about dying alone. God bless you, man. That's a scary thought, but just do the best you can with your life, become the most attractive, mate you can, take care of yourself, grow, do whatever you can to just get better all the time. And somebody will eventually want to be with you. Janice says, I appreciate your outlook. I come here specifically for substantive information with positive and no blackpilling. No blackpilling. Blackpilling's for dummies. I'm sorry. I know that's offensive to some, but blackpilling is retarded. It's retarded. Blackpilling is a choice, and it's a really, really dumb choice. Okay, let's get into it. So, yes, I'd prefer to never know what Alex Jones is doing in his bedroom. Well, when he's not passed out drunk, you can only guess. Light Over Dark, $10 super chat says, love when you share your wisdom and God, love your show. Wise, cool, big brother. I wish I had. God bless you in America. Go MAGA. Grifters can suck it. Thank you, Light Over Dark. I appreciate that. That's very sweet of you. And thank you for supporting the channel very much. Thank you. Okay, let's get into this. That was awesome, Light Over Dark. Big brother, huh? I was the biggest brother. I have 2 sisters and a brother who died, but thanks. Maybe that's part of it. Big bro responsibilities. Okay. President Donald J. Trump yesterday signed an emergency order to secure the bulk power system. This has a lot to do with our grid. Now, right here, what's in this order? Today, President Trump signed an executive order to protect security, integrity, and reliability of bulk power system electric equipment, particularly from interference by foreign actors. Folks, this is fascinating because this comes on the back of breaking up the Chinese hackers that was just announced into our governmental institutions, especially Intel, which is very interesting. Also on DHS, saying we're going to ballot audit as often as we can, get Chinese parts out of our election machines. A lot is happening all at once on the security and integrity of our major systems in America against foreign actors. Why the big push right now? I got to tell you, I think it's because we have the globalists on their back foot. We have them backpedaling. They are in trouble. And so as they get in trouble, the desperation is going to come through. And this is where we need to make sure there's no vulnerabilities in our system. And thank God Trump is doing it. It says the order declares a national emergency under International Emergency Economic Powers Act and the National Emergencies Act with respect to unusual and extraordinary foreign threat to the U.S. involving bulk power systems produced abroad that may present national security vulnerabilities. To deal with that threat, the order, among other things, generally prohibits certain foreign-produced bulk power system electrical equipment, including associated critical software and digital capabilities could prove cybersecurity or operational risks from being purchased or installed in the United States. Fascinating. No longer are we going to be able to cut corners. That's one of the things the Trump administration is making certain here, is that in any of our areas that are integral to our national security, we're not cutting corners by allowing these foreign actors that we cannot trust have access to them or even provide the hardware we can't trust, hardware and software. Fascinating. Order focuses on transactions involving foreign nationals that pose an undue risk of sabotage, unauthorized access or other disruption, undue risk of catastrophic effects on the security or resiliency of U.S. critical infrastructure, or unacceptable risk to our security. This is fascinating stuff. It really is. Think about how Scott Bessent just came out and issued Economic D-Day, or any nations that would have helped the Iranian regime, nations that would be in the globalist City of London system. Our biggest enemies and nations that have worked with that system, like China, also has been an enemy of us. This is fascinating as it's all ramping up at the same time. Now, these are the aspects of the war that's fought behind the scenes. Yeah, we can see it, but this isn't hard power war. This isn't the militaristic aspect of the war. This is Trump protecting us while also putting everybody else on blast. This is massive. And it's the timing cannot be overlooked. So it goes on, preventing actors from crippling critical infrastructure, securing America's critical supply chains. Trump has long recognized America's national security and economic strength depend on rebuilding key sectors of our industrial base and supply chains. This is also going to allow Americans probably a bunch of deregulation as a result of this and pushing our manufacturing up, pushing our infrastructure up, bringing industry back. This is all, Trump is putting this all into one thing, and it's fascinating how he's using it under national security, as it should be, but as has not been recognized in a very long time. This was all under the idea of economy. But the truth is, our industry is absolutely integral to our security, because if we can't provide our own needs, we're in trouble. All kinds of stuff here. Since returning to office, he's continued taking actions under Section 232 to protect and strengthen our manufacturing. In April, Trump signed an executive order to strengthen and secure our electric grid. Think about that. It's been over a year since that. How much has actually been going on? Because we don't get a lot of news on this stuff, but then we find out later how much we've advanced. He says, so far, this has resulted in 17,000 megawatts, enough electricity to supply power to almost 13 million homes. A perfectly good power plant from being forced offline due to weaponization of state and federal environmental regulations. Man, more of this happens, guys. Cheaper energy we'll get, the stronger we'll get here. In June 26, Trump signed an executive order to advance American AI innovation to strengthen our cybersecurity, protect critical infrastructure, and ensure the U.S. remains global leader in AI innovation. Is it coincidence that 2 months after he signs this, we have massive crackdowns on hacking and cyber networks using that AI? I don't think so. Again, AI is a tool. Who's using it? That's what matters. In July, Trump signed an executive order to secure America's defense supply chains for cutting-edge equipment allows U.S. to dominate modern battlefield, particularly critical minerals and components necessary to manufacture equipment. In August 26, Trump signed a proclamation to address national security threat posed by imports of drones and their components by strengthening our drone industry and supply chain. All of this is strategic, strengthening us, protecting us, and cutting out the loopholes that have been used. Now, Observing Consciousness says this: Trump just declared a national emergency over vulnerabilities inside the U.S. bulk power system. Means a threat is sitting inside the infrastructure that powers defense, emergency services, communications, industry, and economy. Now line that up with FY, Chinese state-backed operators hiding behind compromised routers and lot devices while probing sensitive U.S. networks. And remember what Stuxnet proved when malware crossed into industrial controls and started manipulating physical machinery. This is the fight, moving from networks into the grid itself, foreign hardware, hidden access, industrial controls. It's a national defense threat. On here, Trump banning foreign-made equipment from the U.S. grid tells you where this is going. Foreign hardware inside critical infrastructure creates access. Stuxnet proved the danger. This is why the foreign equipment must be replaced. So all of this happening also before the election? Coincidence? I don't think so, because a lot of this foreign hardware controls our data, our internet, and yes, our energy, our election machines. A lot of this, I mean, it gives them ability to false flag, to steal data. I mean, you name it. It's massive, all heading up before that. So craziness, but again, fascinating timing. Oop, I don't know what happened here. Now, what is one of the ways Trump's been fighting this? And I do believe it's through the data centers. This is how he's getting Americans to build power plants and provide more power, while also, because they're going on the grid, having to fix the grid, getting American companies, the ones with the most money, to do this faster. What's faster than a government contract? A government contractor? Private contractors. What's better at managing this than government? Private companies. You get the private companies to accomplish a lot of your goals. And what do you do to let them move as quickly as possible? You deregulate. I believe that's a lot of what's going on here. Human Progress posts, U.S. gas power projects plan for data centers rose from 4 gigawatts in early 24 to more than 189 gigawatts by mid-2026. That's a lot of energy, and they are creating it. Data centers driving a surge in gas-fired power projects. This is what we want. I'm sorry, the whole data center attack. Why is Trump saying it's a Chinese psyop to get us not to trust them, to not want them? I think there's a big part of it. It's no coincidence that he's shoring up our manufacturing, our industry, fixing our infrastructure, pushing out foreigners, and also pushing data centers. Does any of that make sense unless it's all part of a similar goal? I don't think so. I don't see any other explanation you can make where that makes sense. Trump's controlled by the globalists. He's one of them. Why is he pushing out all the foreign? Why is he cutting off all the foreign access? Why is he cutting off their ability to take advantage of us? None of that makes sense. Trump's just one of the technocrats. Okay. Why is it on his watch? We're getting a lot of pushback regulation. Yes, he's pushing AI, but he's also making them do it smartly. Yes, he's pushing data centers, but he's also encouraging the people to hold them in check. He's forcing them to do what's good for the community at the same time. How does any of that make sense? He's decentralizing our government. You know, when Trump signed the executive order, eliminate 10 regulations for every new one, you know that weakens the government, folks? When Trump passed tax cuts, you know that weakens the central government? Sure doesn't seem to fit, does it? But if you understand that what Trump's doing is trying to build our country and leave it in the hands of the citizens to build, then this all makes sense. Isn't it fascinating how that works? Now, more on the data centers. They helped resurrect Quincy, Washington. Poverty rate fell from almost 30% to 6% with data centers. Tech tax revenue funded new high school, hospital, library, police, and fire stations, and property taxes went down. Wow, that's a big success story, I'd say. Pretty crazy. The truth is, a lot of again, this comes down to red versus blue. The red states do it right. They get the benefits. The blue states often do it wrong, and they suffer the consequences. It has nothing to do with the data centers themselves. One more full affordability, get out of blue states. 5 most expensive states are run by Democrats, while lowest cost states are run by Republicans. On average, costs are 15% lower in red states. 15% lower. We don't have a affordability issue. We have a Democrats run a large part of the country issue. We have high tax issue, high regulation issue, which the federal government is doing its job to undo, while the red states are doing the same. And there's the benefit. There's the boom. See, if we actually trust what the current, not the old school, what the current Republican MAGA party is doing, it's leading to success. It's leading to prosperity. And we're heading in that direction. And Trump is doing everything he can to keep pushing that. And here's just more and more proof of it all the time. Folks, as we keep heading in this direction, things are only going to get better. We're already seeing the results, and it's only been 18 months. Wait until the end of Trump's term, when all this is going to be booming, and all those who stuck it out are going to be proven right. All right. Hit that like and subscribe, folks. Next, what many of you have been waiting for, the Grifter Report. Going to be getting into that next. And oh man, we're going to have some fun. But first, as always, let me stop in the chat and catch up with you guys. Any tagged comments here? Yes. Deuterino says a lot of our data centers are overseas, and these are very vulnerable because of undersea cables, etc. Building data centers also on shores. Our data, it's not AI, all AI. That's a great point. That's a great point. I hadn't considered that. Let's see here. Uh-oh, we had a fight. Cassink and Sunny. They're longtime viewers, so just temporary. But thanks, Moody, for patrolling the chat, making sure that people aren't getting out of hand. Joshua says, this goes to what General Blaine Holt's been saying about data centers. Yes. And I believe Blaine knows a lot. He's very smart. It's all about unraveling the globalist payment plumbings. That is very true. That is 100% true. Absolutely. C. Will says, European countries don't own our power companies. A lot of the components we build our grid with come from foreign companies, and those components are compromised. 100% true. Absolutely. Cat Crazy says, I wonder if our oil prices are high because we're putting a lot of energy into data centers. Let me tell you something, like Bitcoin mining, it takes a lot of juice. I agree with that, but I don't think that has anything to do with oil prices. I think gas prices are high right now because of the volatility of Iran. So the gas companies have been keeping them elevated and been able to get away with it. The other reason is it's summertime. And when people drive in the summer, supply and demand. So they're pushing those higher gas prices on us. As Labor Day ends, we'll see prices start going down as Iran keeps stabilizing as far as our role in it. Gas prices will keep going down. I believe by October, gas prices will be significantly cheaper than they are now, unless there's a big ramp up we don't see. Let's see here. Aside from Rich and Promethean, Luongo, any other channels to add to our media rotation? Geez, Free, you must have a lot of time to listen to stuff. I'm kidding. I don't know if I have anybody else that I regularly listen to anymore. I mean, just find people you enjoy. I mean, that seem to be speaking truth. There's somebody mentioned X22 earlier. They're pretty good. Yeah, there's stuff, but I don't know if I have anything I'd push people towards. You believe blue state cities are keeping things higher to make Trump appear unsuccessful? I mean, that's definitely a part of it. When you hear that gas prices are over $4 a gallon nationwide, the only reason they are? Because California is $7 a gallon right now or something close to that. And that alone rises prices over $4 a gallon nationwide. Isn't that crazy? Without that, I think nationwide prices on average are $3.85 or something like that. Bruce says, migration, trade routes, demarcation lines, wake me up if something changes. There's been a reckoning. 100% there has, and it's continuing. Michael Argenti says, does anyone want the left to develop these technologies and more importantly, their implementation? You know what's interesting on that, Michael? Think about it this way. When the Democrats were in charge, what do? They put a ton of regulations so that the tech, the advancements do not reach the people, but they're developed behind the scenes for the government. When the left is gone in power, what happens? We get all this awareness of stuff that the government's been doing while also being freed up to innovate ourselves, things coming down to us. See, the globalist system wants to keep innovation advancement away from the people while using those innovations to control us. But in a free society that we're aiming for, with the current, MAGA agenda people in charge, that Trump is letting us know a lot of stuff they're doing and keeping us aware of it while also encouraging certain aspects. Data centers, one of the reasons they're being talked about now, they were being built before. Okay. Why are they being talked about now? Because Trump's bringing attention to it while also encouraging it. So he's saying, let's do this, but you guys all know about it, so you guys can police it. You guys can make sure it's done the right way. And by the way, I'll help you. That's the difference. When stuff's hidden from us, they don't want us to see, because we're not supposed to be a part of it. Free says, I can't watch everything. I have a rotation of good people. I keep an eye out. I do too. I'm always looking for stuff, especially when I run out of the rare occasion where I've gone through everything I'm watching. Canadian conservatives are big mad over Lake America. That was so funny. That's so funny. Deuterino says, I watch Enforcers because they're so retarded. I'm trying to figure out whom or what is actually behind them. Interesting. I don't even know what Enforcers is. All right. Okay, you guys ready? Let's get into it. Grifter report time. Oh my God, Tucker. Tucker's got all kinds of stuff. So it's been a little slow on the Grifter report lately. Haven't had any big things for a couple days, but we got a big one today, and woo, it's a doozy. So over the last couple months, we've been talking a lot about the psyops directed at DHS, or the border, the deportations. There's been a massive psyop here because it's trying to discourage Americans and MAGA from voting, making us think Trump's betrayed us, because the number one thing Americans agreed on when voting for Trump was immigration. Fix it, get the illegals out. That was number one. And so if they could convince us that Trump has betrayed us, many won't show up to vote. Many won't give him another chance. Many will not show up for the midterms. Makes sense, doesn't it? That is why you run these psyops. They are for discouragement, so you check out. They know in most cases the psyops aren't going to change your mind to go against. Most of these people aren't going to start voting Democrat, but what they will do is not show up, and they'll doom and think nothing matters. Voting doesn't matter. You can't change anything. And so you stay at home and let them run in with their crazies who will always show up to vote. Well, amidst this context, Tucker came in yesterday hot with Greg Bovino. Yeah, the guy who used to run the deportation strategy for the Trump administration, then was let go in February after Minnesota got hot and heated and all the attention was in Minnesota. Since then, Tom Homan came in. He has scaled back the optics while accelerating the deportations. In fact, in July, we just had 50,000 deportations, which was a record for a month. And that doesn't count. Actually, that was arrests for deportations, excuse me. Actual deportations are much higher because the vast majority of deportations currently happening are self-deporting, which is the best case scenario, because as they self-deport, it's a lot cheaper for us and a lot easier to get them to go. Well, yesterday, this is how Tucker announces it. There are more than 100 million illegals, aliens living in the United States. I like how he presents that as a fact. It's not a fact at all. In fact, that's insane in my opinion. And I know there's some people who believe this. However, when you actually process this through common sense, that comes out to basically 1 out of every 4 people in America is a legal alien. I'm sorry, folks, but as someone who's traveled extensively through Texas, North Carolina, and California, I can tell you there's a lot of them, but it's not 1 in every 4 people. That's crazy. And those are border states, 2 of those, by the way. But presents it like a fact. Why? Because this is an impossible problem to solve. That scares everybody. It makes you think this is impossible no matter what. You're never going to be able to overcome 100 million. Lower numbers are possible. We have hope. We can move through this over time. But 100 million, that seems insurmountable. And even no matter what Trump does with the resources afforded to him, he's never going to be able to get rid of that, which means you can perpetually criticize him every single time. That's why you start with that. And I know exactly what Tucker's doing here. Now, Donald Trump has no intention of deporting them. That's the next statement they make. Well, that's insane, as we've already deported between self-deportations and other deportations over 4 million. These are the facts, folks. You can decide who you want to agree with. You can either trust the influencer who suspiciously completely turned against Trump after Iran and now has made his whole state of being taking down Donald Trump. And you can trust the guy who was fired after taking down illegals in a very public manner that invited all kinds of protests. And yes, even 2 Americans were killed in the squabbles. You can trust that guy, or you can trust the statistics coming out. It's up to you who you trust. But I would say that one has a much better record than the other, and the deportations are happening. Greg Bovino ran the Border Patrol until earlier this year and saw the betrayal firsthand. Sure he did. This man's a little man loser, but we'll see. Now he says the administration is threatening his life. Of course, he has to add that there. Does anybody in a million years think that if they wanted Greg Bovino dead, he wouldn't be dead? Come on now. We know how government works. But here's a couple of the quotes. Here's Bovino talking about them wanting him dead.
Tucker, this is the greatest issue and greatest threat that our nation has faced since its founding.
The administration didn't want you to have security. Why?
I think to silence me, because...
Sounds you like get you killed? Because that's what it sounds like.
Do I think they want me dead at this point? Yes.
Dun, dun, dun. You know, maybe I'm just a little judgmental. And maybe I've been psyoped over the years. But I got to say, in my experience, when guys get older and they're still shaving their head like this and this haircut, they don't usually turn out to be good dudes. I'm sorry. That's me judging a book by its cover. But hey, when you're throwing out outlandish claims, you invite that. I'm sorry. So we'll both play the game. How's that? We'll both play the game. But yeah, when guys look like this, when you're still standing in front of your mirror, bicking the side of your head so that you have that little crop right there, yeah, usually that's not a good sign, folks. This guy, he might want to hang out. Maybe he was a side character in American History X. I don't know. I'll have to go rewatch the movie because he sure looks familiar. That's all I'll say about that. But but he goes on. And again, folks, I have to be careful after how I play these because Tucker loves to copyright strike channels. But, you know, I wonder why. He doesn't want you going through his stuff. But we'll watch this in a little couple chunks. So here's some more of this crazy interview.
It's the same thing, though.
Absolutely. So I didn't even know I was under investigation for this until the New York Times informed me, hey, since you're under investigation for anti-Semitism, would you like to make a comment? They called me.
First of all, are you usually alerted when you're under investigation? I don't think if the federal government's investigating you from afar, like they haven't really made any decisions yet. They don't need any warrants yet. They're just like going through your public information. Do they need to tell you you're being investigated? I don't think so. I don't think that's how law enforcement works. You don't just get an alert on your phone. Hey, by the way, we're investigating you. Just wanted you to know, but you know, sit tight, enjoy your life. We'll get back to you. So it's a big deal that you found out you're being investigated. I don't think so. That's how it works, buddy, but okay.
And I'm just like, what are you talking about? My own agency didn't even tell me. I found that out through the New York Times reporter that called me.
Under investigation for anti-Semitism?
Yes.
The Trump administration did that to you?
Yeah, CBP. Well, Customs, I don't think Trump...
We need to really recognize the fact that they are quoting the New York Times as the insider voice on the Trump administration. I think that's notable. The New York Times told you this? Well, they know everything. Oh, don't they? Oh. Tucker, yeah, come on. You want us to actually take this seriously?
Trump knew about it.
No, but it's the federal
the administration.
Yeah.
So I found that one out, and I'm like, wow, this is interesting. This is
Again, this is one of the things they do. We've seen this from Bannon. We've seen this from Alex Jones, etc. The ones that don't want to go directly after Trump all the time. It's always, well, it's not. No. I didn't say Trump did. It's his administration. It's always the people. That's how they dance around that, so they can keep their audience of people still who really like Trump to listen to him.
This is interesting. So then, to make a long story short, some special agents show up at my house, say start banging on the door. I'm like, what's going on here? My security team says, we don't know what's going on. What's going on? I didn't answer the door. I don't need to answer the door.
He just say his security team? This guy's a private citizen who just lost his job working for the government, and he's got the money for a security team. There's so much in this that doesn't smell right. They're secret agents knocking at my door, and he's like humorous about it. Oh, what's going on here? This is nuts.
They were there for my computer, which I was retiring the next day. They said they wanted to write that minute. I never talked to them. They get the orders from somewhere in D.C. Well, just go ahead and smash the guy's door in and make entry. Luckily.
Tucker wants you all to know this is serious. Look at that face. I mean, this is just nonsense. So, okay, he's persecuted by the government. Fair enough. Okay. Now here's where he goes into how we totally surrendered in Minnesota.
When did Border Patrol stop policing the interior of the country for illegal immigration?
Well, most recently it was our surrender in Minnesota. But before that, you have to remember the U.S. Border Patrol had interior Border Patrol stations.
Yes.
Places like Little Rock, Arkansas, Oklahoma City, Las Vegas, Amarillo, Texas, Dallas, Texas, all over the interior. It was because they were that interior immigration force when needed.
See, he's lying here. CBP, the Border Patrol, is meant to be on the border. And this is one of the things that they changed. And this is where this is such a lie. See, Homan came in and said, no more CBP. You guys are trained for the border. We have enough ICE agents now. The ICE agents are going to carry out the operations. CBP, you're going back to the border. That's your job. That's what happened. He's presenting this as we stopped deporting because CBP was pulled out of these towns. That is such a lie and such a truth taken out of context in order to deceive you. This is nuts that people are believing this and following this. But again, you hide your lies in a little bit of truth. That's the whole game. That's what the grifters do. And so this is nuts.
Plainclothes detectives who do a great job could then take a pacified area and keep it pacified. That's the way that whole thing has worked for 102 years. That's been upended. That doesn't happen now. Why is that?
Well, you tell me. Why is that? When did that stop?
Minnesota. I call it the Great Surrender. The Great Surrender in Minnesota. When Commissioner Rodney Scott and Tom Homan decided to come in.
So he's trying to take down Homan now. This is typical little man jealousy syndrome. I mean, look at this guy and then listen to his voice. You know what he reminds me of? I was 21. I needed a job. And my buddy was working for a landscaper. And he said, dude, come on, we need people. I'll get you in touch with Diesel. I said, Diesel? All right. Interesting. So he gave me the number. I called, left a message, waited to get a call back, got a call back. And I'm expecting, this guy's name is Diesel. I'm expecting to get this call and it'd be like, yo, hey, I heard you want to come work for me. Instead, on the phone, I hear, hey, yo, what's up? This is Diesel. It's like, what? Just like this guy, I show up. It's a little man in a, ragged tank top, showing off his flabby guns and just half bald and he's got a voice just like this guy. That's what it reminds me of. He reminds me of Diesel. Bob DeSales was his name. It went by Diesel. The tough guy who's not tough. This is what this guy reminds me of as he speaks. Listen to his voice as he just lies to us.
And who are they? That's Customs and Border Patrol Commissioner Rodney Scott.
And what's his background?
Border Patrol, career Border Patrol.
Okay.
Career Border should know what the Border Patrol is to be used for.
And Tom Homan is who?
He's our border czar, a prior ICE official, spent his whole year with ICE. I believe he was a Border Patrol agent for about a year.
Do you hear the disdain in his voice as he said ICE? This is like the way you talk about, something you just, you can tell he's butthurt over this. He got fired. They put ICE in the spot of Border Patrol, which was his baby. And now he's very mad about it. ICE. He was in charge of ICE.
And then jumped on over to the plainclothes division there. So you've got those two individuals that, remember, they were silent, completely silent for that year when those Border Patrol agents were battling it out in a two-front war in those cities. A two-front war. What's a two-front war? Battling the bad people and bad things, the cartels and the illegal aliens and the criminals, and then battling the Pritzkers, the Newsoms, the Mayor Basses, and the politicians. Where were they during that year? But then Minnesota?
Homan's been there the whole time. This is insane. And by the way, have you ever watched Homan speak? We watch Homan get emotional as he talks about his 30 years dealing with the border and the kids and the horrible things he's seen. That is crazy. Bovino is a scumbag. He's a scumbag and he's an idiot. He hates illegals. Okay, fine. But he did it so abrasively and he lost control. He didn't even think of how to do this smartly, thinking that, yeah, guess what? There is a political reality while you're carrying this stuff out. There's a way to do it without smashing and grabbing. Well, that's what he was doing. And so they drove him out. Trump said, no more of this. This is stupid. You're giving the left fodder. You're being very sloppy. You're gone. And he put Homan in charge. And then under Homan, we're getting no issues and deportations are up. This is a hit job. This guy is pissed. He's a little baby, weak man. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic to see. And this is a guy who, like many on my show, like people in my chat, in my community are like, man, it sucks Bovino's gone. No, he had been held up to you as some kind of hero just because he was the leader of, the deportations at the time. And so you were duped into thinking he was good because he was doing something you wanted him to do. But the truth is, he was sloppy. He was sloppy on one of the worst things you can be sloppy with. Because guess what? There's a whole lot of people in the middle who understand we need to get these people out, but they don't want to see it get rough. Because when it gets rough and you get the pictures of, people being slammed to the ground, thrown in cars, when you see that roughness, all of a sudden that's bad optics and you start turning the people against the operation. That's what was happening in Minnesota because this guy in his little man syndrome was trying to tough guy it out and he was sloppy and he didn't recognize what was actually how the way to do it right. And that's why he was pushed out. The Trump team, as always, made the right decision. Whenever Trump cuts somebody, it's always the right decision. Every time. Trump gives people a chance. He gets close to them. He watches them. And when they suck, he cuts them loose. Bovino sucked at his job. He sucked at his job. And now they got Homan and doing a great job. And of course, Tucker, because Tucker needs views and Tucker needs to try to take down Trump, brings them in and goes, and brings this guy in to take down the most popular issue for Trump. Okay. And the lies are just unreal. I mean, look at this. Here's the actual data. ICE arrests soar as people with no criminal record are increasingly targeted. Look at this. Here is from when Mullen was confirmed, which, by the way, is after Homan. See, after Homan came in, there was a initial dip. Well, why is there an initial dip? Well, let's talk about this. The Democrats freezed DHS funding. Okay. They held up the government over DHS. So funding for all of DHS slowed down. ICE agents were still being trained, and they were restructuring with a new strategy going forward. So yes, there's an initial dip, but look at this. It was still vastly elevated over before Trump came in. Here's where Trump first came in. This dip is still way bigger than before Trump. Oh, no mass deportations. This guy is such a crazy liar. So then Holman comes in, takes over that. You get rid of Noem. You get the new strategy. Mullen comes in and boom, off to the races. That's the reality of what's actually happening, folks. Even the New York Times reporting that ICE arrests have surged at highs not seen before. DHS is going after all illegals more than ever, including overstays, asylees, and terminated TPS. Immigration arrests are near all-time highs in almost every state, and removals have risen with them. I mean, this is the New York Times reporting it. If the New York Times is reporting it, you know it's got to be even better than they're actually reporting. This is crazy, guys, but this is what they want to do. And because of this, I mean, Bovino, even more proven it was the right idea to get rid of him. The guy is he's a traitor. I mean, the fact that he would go against and lie against something this big, when if he truly cared about deportations, if he truly cared about what he said he was doing, he would be backing them up, saying like, you know, I just want to help in any way I can, not going on Tucker Carlson and spewing a bunch of nonsense because he's butthurt. That's not a real man. It's definitely not a true believer. It's somebody who's mad that they lost their power. That's what they want. Okay. That's what they're looking at. Now, Alex wants you to know that if you don't trust Greg Bovino, well, you're wrong.
Okay. So Greg Bovino, decades at the Border Patrol, highly respected, the big hero of Fox News, who went out there with ICE and did their constitutional duty under unprecedented attack and demonization of the left, the communists, the rest of them, came on my show like 3 months ago and said, look, Trump administration is bringing in a bunch of Biden-era people, replacing folks that want to do their constitutional job, not just with people that are soft, but with really, really bad folks. And then you saw...
He's calling Holman a Biden-era person. This is so crazy. You guys see the PSYOP? How they all run on it at the same time? By the way, this is hilarious. People with Trump devotion syndrome. Is it me or was it just a couple days ago when Alex came out and said, guys, it's time to unify. We need to target the commies. We need to focus on that. We need to focus on the Red-Green Alliance so that we can save our future. That was 2 days ago. In 2 days, Alex comes on. People with Trump devotion syndrome are attacking Greg Bovino for telling the truth. It's like, God, what do you even do? just laugh at these retards.
Internal deportations basically stop inside the continental United States. And now you see the southern border evidence that it's becoming wide open and new caravans coming. So off air, he told me, yeah, I'm really concerned, but I want to see if the Trump administration fixes it. 3-4 months later, he goes on Tucker and says, look, we've been sold out.
So Alex had the inside track. Off air, he told me that, it's all going to hell, Alex. But Alex, I want you to know that, we're gonna see if they do the right thing. And now he's telling me they sold out to the globalists. This is so ridiculous. But see the game? This is the game they play. They got the inside information. They know what's really going on. The Trump administration is co-opted by Israel and the globalists. Always Israel and the globalists. Always. Never City of London. He can't pinpoint that part. Wonder why. A little too specific for you, Alex? A little too close to home for you, Alex? I don't know. But, always got to go there. But, of course, it's not Trump himself. No, it's just his administration. He's getting bad advice. That's what they do, man. It's so ridiculous, so stupid. And people fall for it. Now, thankfully, less people every day. But, I mean, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. I mean, again, we got the numbers. We talked about why the drop and then boosted right back up. That's why there was a drop back up. By the way, way more than when Trump first came in. That's the actual numbers, folks. Even the New York Times has to admit it. And you know the New York Times doesn't want to admit it. They don't. So, but you know, I'm probably wrong. I'm probably the wrong one paid. As Health Ranger wants us all to know here, this is one of Alex Jones' best buddies. Best buddies? Maybe that's Freudian slip. By now, you should realize almost every channel on this platform attacking Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, MTG, or myself. I like how he throws himself in with these four, as if we know who you are, dude. I know who he is, but it's only because he's always popping up on these people's feeds shared by them. But if you're attacking them, you're either directly paid by the government or blackmailed or otherwise coerced. I guess I'm coerced. I'm coerced by truth. I'm coerced by evidence. Not coerced by a paycheck. But man, talk about projection, huh? You should also realize that with very few exceptions, most accounts allowed to surge to 1+ million followers are plants. Handed scripts to follow an unrestricted virality for their posts to give them maximum reach. Okay. Most accounts allowed to surge to 1 million viewers. Let's do a little research on that, shall we? Candace Owens. Let's see. Where's Candace's account? Here she is. 7.8 million. Well, she fits the bill. I guess she's been allowed to go viral. Let's see, Alex Jones. Doesn't want to bring up Alex Jones. Knows I don't like him right now. Oh, here's Alex. Alex Jones, 4.4 million. I guess he's allowed to go viral. Let's look at Tucker Carlson. 17.9 million. Tucker was really allowed to go viral. That's pretty damning, I'd say. So yeah, if you're allowed to surge to 1 million plus, you're probably a plant handed scripts to follow. Isn't it amazing how they tell you exactly who they are and exactly what they're doing? Projection is a beautiful thing once you realize how it works. Once you realize that you accuse others of what you're doing, that's exactly what this is. Funny how they all came into all this agreement at the same time, isn't it? He just told us exactly what's going on, folks. Alex, Tucker, Candace, MTG are allegedly, I got to protect myself here, allegedly paid by the government, blackmailed, or coerced. Allegedly. Wow. Wonder what government it is, since it's not ours, since they hate our government so much. And were allegedly allowed to surge to 1+ million followers because they're plants. Allegedly. Pretty crazy. Thanks for telling us, though, Health. We really appreciate the fact that you let us know exactly what's going on with these people. And of course, it makes sense because, well, Natalie Winter, she's let us know how it works. See, this is what they did with COVID. Now, it wasn't those influencers they were paying. No, those influencers get paid by other governments, allegedly. But here's some receipts on the American government paying influencers for COVID. Yes, Natalie Winters reports exclusive. Federal government paid hundreds of social media influencers to convince their followers to take COVID vaccines. They even targeted children, pregnant women, and breastfeeding mothers. The project didn't reveal the names, but she unmasked dozens. CDC poured $80 million into the program. This ran through L Beacon, public-facing cutout created by Public Good Projects, which recruited almost 500 paid influencers. Whew. Here's some examples. Tech creator Fabio Diaz told them, do your part, step up, get vaccinated, vaccinate. L Beacon's official account reposted it with #ad. Paid partnership Angelica Castaneda featured a vaccinated 6-year-old and said her family acted partly to protect a 2-year-old, a separate #ad. Wow. And it just keeps going. None of these are that big, but they were all over the world. Paolo Desideri, Erica Marquez, Juliana Separoviches. These are all kinds of places. Here's a list. 57 names. All over. By the way, a lot of them to the Hispanic community. Look at that. That's pretty crazy. Not the big names. The big names are too smart. They hide it too well. These little guys, they're happy to take the smaller checks. Happy to take the small or easily traceable checks. But the point is, if you think they're only paying, if you think governments, foreign governments only pay smaller influencers, I don't know what to tell you, folks, but Health Ranger does. They're allowed to surge because they're plants with scripts, but it's not our government. Allegedly, he just listed all those. So, but you want to talk about a script? Well, let's have some fun before we leave, shall we? Here's Ami. Because the best thing you can do with these influencers is mock them. Okay? You just take their eccentricities, you take their ridiculousness, and you mock it. So while we're watching all this, we're watching Tucker Carlson and Greg Bovino feed us all kinds of nonsense, and Health Ranger teaching us exactly who they are. We're uncovering more and more. They get crazier as Anna Paulina Luna is pushing the FARA violations, making them getting to the point they should disclose who they're paid for, or paid by, I should say. In the meantime, we'll expose them and we'll laugh at them. Here's the latest from Ami. If Jordan Peterson was Candace Owens' therapist.
Jordan Peterson being Candace's therapist. Well, I think you just might be one of the psychopaths I warned Joe Rogan about, dark tetrad traits, borderline personality disorder, splitting, saying someone's your best friend one moment and then your worst enemy, every single movement, relationship you've had as you've just jumped from one to the other in a parasitical fashion, and I think that's a problem, So needless to say, I'm off the benzos, but you should get on them quick because you're a psycho bitch. My God. I talked about feminine aggression and you display just buttloads of it. Women engage in aggression, men fight it out, but women engage in reputation destruction, psychological warfare and reputation destruction. Well, no one's demonstrated that more than you. So that's what I would say. Toxic femininity. Maybe toxic masculinity is not an issue, but toxic femininity. That's Candace Owens.
So good. He's so good. But folks, it's not just Candace. Okay, there is some serious narcissism going on with these people. Their need to be important. The spewing of lies that are so obviously debunked, the pretending of how serious we gotta be super serious with them all the time because they're so, it's all a show. These are actors. They're playing a game. They're playing a game because they have an agenda, and that agenda is take down MAGA. Trump is too effective. Let's go for the jugular. These are Hail Marys being thrown. When you can easily debunk the claims, easily, they're throwing Hail Marys. They're trying to be relevant again. They're trying to take Trump down, divide MAGA, right in time for the midterms so that he cannot fulfill in full the last few years of the term we appoint him for, because he is fulfilling his promises, and that's what they're most scared of. It's not going to work, though. It's not going to work because it's so obvious now that the people mocking him are starting to get more attention than the real ones. And that's a great sign. It's a great sign. All right, folks, hit that like, subscribe. Let me catch up with the chat before we go today and make sure I'm all the way caught up with you guys. I'll hang out for a little bit. Questions, comments, please tag me. Super chat's guaranteed to be read. Rose says, should we remind Tucker, Candace, Alex, and Co that Anna Paulina Luna is going to expose their asses out? I thought they were masters at gathering info. Oh, they are not. They're masters at reporting what's being fed to them. Cat Crazy says, for real, it's totally wrapped up in their hurt egos. They're power hungry and can't stand when others do well. They are hungry for attention and money. That's what they're hungry for. And it's pathetic. It's very, very sad. It's a rich little for younger generations. Why isn't Alex concerned about the young guy that worked for him that not long ago that was unalived? Oh, I remember that. That was crazy. I forgot about that. The guy that was dead, killed on his staff. Yeah, that was insane. Kellyanne says, Tony Kinnett from the Daily Signal said he knows Candace Purchin's Gen 4 bots didn't even spring for Gen 5. That's why they mess up so much, right? In her chat. Don Julio says, Stu Peters has 500,000 viewers. He only gets 100 people or so on his BS live stream. Stu Peters is he's just such a fraud. I mean, look at this guy. He is, wait, is this him? Yeah. Look at that AI version of himself he put up there to make himself look younger. The Stu Peters Network. Tell me how narcissistic you are when you make a network out of your one show. Unbuyable. That's so funny. You make yourself known right there. Almost 1 million subs. I mean, look at this. Stu Peters, 71 likes. This one, 430 out of 1 million. Million people. There's one, 3,000, but still, out of 1 million people watching, that is no engagement at all. Let's go to his network show. 47 likes. That is sad. Stu is just sad. This is stupid AI thing with his guns to his head. He made himself 10 years younger and much better looking, I should say. Let's look at that. That is not Stu Peters. That is not Stu Peters. That is a model created by AI. And he's putting it out there as his picture. Oh my God. He couldn't even set up a picture. Oh my God. That is so funny. Let's look at the real Stu here. Oh, how is it all just commercials? My God. Do you even have a show? What the heck, man? Where are you? It's exclusively on Kick, I guess. You got to watch it now. That's okay. Here's Stu.
Jenica Pounds is
Can we get a zoom in?
Jives it
Yeah, here. This guy. So there he is. That's the real Stu. and then there's his. Oh man, what a freaking narcissist! He created a much better looking version of himself and put it out there. Oh man, that is so funny. That is so funny. Wow, these people are so sad. They're so sad. He's one of the saddest though. He's one of the saddest. My God. Wow. You guys got me. It's a little off script, but man, that's funny. That is just. Whew. All right. I got to calm down. Where are we? Where were we? Just every time I look at this. And he's like so serious. Just put it up there. Put it up there, man. This is my profile pic. God almighty. Man. That's so funny. That is so funny. All right. Did I miss anything? Miss anything in the crowd here? Whoo. Let's see here. Deuterino says Holman was on John and Ken at KFI during Biden's term all the time, talking trash on Biden. In fact, he's been remarkably consistent. Rose says, I remember Bovino made a video for Italy saying, hey, I'm ready to help you getting illegals out. On behalf of Italian people, I say we already have enough problems. Sorry. I like that. Let's see. Cat Crazy says, under Bovino, people didn't feel safe, and yes, a couple Americans died. Damage control was necessary. Yep, it was. He was sloppy. Yep, absolutely. Good stuff, guys. SMK says, I was with Jed York. He was trolling for a toothless 403 his Yankee tee. I know, I don't want to talk about it. To defend his Yankee tee, though, I think he was trying to be undercover. They'll never know I'm a Niners owner if I'm wearing a Yankees tee. I think that's what that was for. Whenever you go on Rumble, Tucker breaks in with an ad. What? He's running ads on Rumble? That's so funny. Tammy says I'm having too much fun. What's my show without fun? It needs to be fun. It needs to be fun. Kat says the show's so great, love it in the chat, laugh every time I'm here. Well, good. I want to bring joy. Oh, you're right. We need to check in on Owen Schroyer, his latest pictures. I don't know if he's changed it since the last time I've seen. You know what's funny though? It's like how dumb that Owen has his real page and then he's got an Owen Schroyer updates page, as if people care that much about his little clips. Here's his main page though. I guess he's not getting, they don't see him important enough because he couldn't break the million. He couldn't break the million that Health Ranger talked about. So he's not seen as effective. But I mean, look at this. Is it just like, hey, all influencers, let's just do AI slop now? Let's just do our faces as AI slop. It's like Owen thinks he's Miami Vice with his gay bleached hair. I mean, his hair is out of control. Here's the latest.
All right, guys, I want to talk about
Look at this. So here's Owen with his terrible bleached hair. I mean, listen, I'm not trying to be mean to the guy. I'm not the best looking guy in the world. He's not ugly, but he's definitely not that picture. All right. He's got, big nose, big lips. His beard is nasty. And then there's this. Hey, ChatGPT, make me look good. That's what they're doing. As if we're going to take this seriously. Janet's with a $5 super chat has remembered the documentary James O'Keefe did about compromised Border Patrol agents, even some involved in trafficking children. Yeah, I do. That was crazy. And I do think that might have been on Bovino's watch. The reason he might have been gone. So he looks like Danny Bonaducci. So here's this. And here's this. Which one's the real Owen? Oh man. Video game of Grand Theft. Well, yeah, he copied Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which is based off of Grand Theft Auto Vice City was based off of Miami Vice. So that's what he's stealing right here. What's it say? Political play-by-play. Okay. Just too funny, man. Too funny. These guys are just, I think they really are trying to get attention again. Looks like a pedo. Yeah, he does. He has no self-awareness. What's up with the gold chains? Is he going for the black? I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's that smart. I think he literally was like thinking about redoing his channel because, he bleached his hair and it looks super gay. And by the way, this is him looking like, he's trying to look like Scarface here, right? Like the cocaine mafia boss, and then you get the reality. But you can tell he bleached his hair. Everybody was making fun of him, and he's like, "How can I make it cool? Okay, I'll do this." And then he's like, "What should my theme be?" He's like, "Oh, I played Vice City when I was 15. That was a cool game." And he just stole it. But one of these, it's like Sesame Street. One of these is not like the other. Unbelievable. Kids growing up won't be able to use the name Owen anymore. Seriously. Oh man, it's too funny. Too funny. Oh, well, guys, listen, I'm having fun, and I could honestly do this all day, but I actually got to take my daughter to work. So, listen, had a lot of fun today. Lots of laughs. Appreciate you guys. We are winning. Just remember that. We're winning bigly. Great time. Thank you guys for watching. Let's end in a prayer. I'm going to have to take Owen off the screen so we can actually hear. J-Bone says, did I hear right? Alex Jones said Trump supports the communists. I mean, I don't know if he said it directly, but he said the Trump administration probably. But okay. We had fun. You know, the joy of the Lord's our strength, folks. And if we're not happy, if we're not joyful, if we're not having fun, we're not laughing, we can't, you know, we're not going to be able to win these battles. That's why Trump's always making jokes and laughing. So, all right, let's pray and get out of here, and I'll see you guys tomorrow, Friday's show, 12 o'clock. And make sure on the way out, hit the like and subscribe. All right, guys. Heavenly Father, thank you for today. Thank you for laughter. Thank you for fun. Thank you for, Lord, the ability to just see through nonsense and have a good time with it. Father, we don't partner with fear. We partner with faith, and we thank you, God, that things are getting better. Thank you for a president looking out for us, God, a gift of this administration, taking us in the right direction. And Lord, the blessing that is with that. We love you, Father. We thank you. Bless President Trump and his team. Give them protection, wisdom, Lord, in everything they do. And pray for our country, that you would expose, Lord, the corrupt, and bring justice and peace, prosperity to our nation like never before, and that teach us what to do so we can leave it to our many generations in the future, kids, grandkids, great-grandkids. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Love you guys. Bless you all. Have a great rest of your day. Have fun. Love your families. Laugh a lot. And we're winning. Take care, guys. See you tomorrow.
Headlines screaming like a siren at night. Red and blue shouting, nobody's right. Smoke in the streets, truth under attack. Everybody's loud, nobody's got facts. Feeds keep scrolling, nerves stay tight. Matchsticks flicked in the dead of night.